we are now recording.
So is it EG or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so last time
Depends on the
you
dice.
guys actually followed pretty much every lead I had for you guys to follow to find out as much as you possibly could about the Wynnes and their influence in the town of Bexlode. You went seeking out lots of information all over town and have been preparing for the festival, the Harvest Moon Festival that is happening tonight at the Wynne's Mansion. And it is coming up on time for that now. And
cheers, y'all, we're going in.
yeah.
Woo! Let's party!
My guy's awake now, right?
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, you know.
But yeah, so last time you were just about ready to go to the festival, and it was coming right up on time. Some of you have formal clothing, some of you do not. You don't have much time to figure that out. There's only like 20 minutes to half an hour left before the festival begins. And so you'll have to figure out what you're going to do to get formal clothing.
Formal clothing, dang it.
You may have to...
I'll suffer.
There's nowhere in town to buy formal clothing, correct?
At this point, all of the shops have closed down because of the festival, so everybody is getting ready to go, or they know they're not going to get any business. So you may have
find
to
an owlbear and steal all his.
Formal.
Formal dead animal.
Especially for Tamati or Tamati. Do you say Tamati or Tamati? Does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I usually say tamati.
Okay.
Tamati.
Tamati it is then. But especially for Tamati, it might be.
Oh, you can hear us? Okay.
I can hear you, yeah. Barely.
Make sure you got air.
You're kind of quiet.
Make sure you got the fan angle.
Oh, the fans belong on me, but it feels good, so.
Can you hear him okay?
Yes.
Russell, yeah, we can hear Russell fine.
Good. Okay. Clearly you can hear me, so.
I have Chris's audio cranked up on my end so that I can hear him.
Okay, so we just switched. Okay.
Yeah, there's a little bit of echo now.
Oh yeah, we have some feedback.
Hey!
There, right in the middle.
So just mute yours.
Squeaky, squeaky.
Okay. Hello?
Hello? Oh.
Oh,
Hi.
Can you guys hear us?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
feedback
David, I got a
problem.
question.
Yes.
So how many would I be able to use like extra like costume stuff for my thing for one or two people or no?
You could
So,
probably manage
Like a one I go.
for some of you at least. You'd.
I think maybe we could dress up like someone like maybe
Little
like,
one.
yeah,
Little one. I got stuff.
What was that?
like the
It's a little one.
oh, I
Is
think
it okay?
maybe
Okay.
maybe we could like dress up Mouse or someone as like catering or something and have her sneak around or whatnot. Or,
Yeah, you
and
could
then,
try
like, my
that.
fancy.
Yeah, you could try that. You'd probably have to wait until you got
Yeah, so who
inside to
needs
do
formal?
that.
I do.
Especially
Not
for
even think of it.
especially for Tamati. the only way Tamati is likely to find formal clothing that fits him is by
Killing an animal.
yeah. There's
What?
there's
Why
that.
don't you go? The guy from the place we had the Heroes
Oh, yeah,
Fest,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was all like decked
Yeah.
out.
Maleko.
Maleko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
Can you
formals
ask
from
him?
him.
I'll do that.
All right. So
Oh,
Maleko is actually still at the bar, so you'll be able to go and speak to him about that
Yes.
because
Perfect.
somebody has to stay in mind the tavern, and he's one of
Yeah,
the
go figure.
ones.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah, as far as disguising someone as a caterer, that will have to wait until you're actually in there because you don't know what the caterers are going to be wearing. But so you'll have to have seen them first before you can attempt to replicate it.
And my guess is like they all have uniforms,
Shove that
but they're
stuff
like
over here.
extras, right?
Huh?
We'll just have to knock someone.
What was that?
Like, you know how a lot of places they're uniform, and so they have extras, like laying around.
Yeah, it's possible. You'll be able to check when you get there.
The catering staff.
We can always beat up the doorman. Do they have valet parking?
They actually do. Like for carriages, not for cars. They have
Close enough. They have uniforms.
Yeah, you can
motorcycles.
you could just pull the thing from Wonder Woman when
There you go.
when she steals the dress off of the snooty lady.
I haven't seen that yet. Is it any
Fun
good?
getting
I
it.
like it.
It's actually really good, yeah.
Cool.
I've seen beats of it. Bits and pieces.
DC made a good movie.
Yeah, so at this point, probably most of you are still at the tavern, so it'll be convenient for you to go and speak to Maleko. And around this time,
Does
hmm?
what is her name? Oh, is goodness,
The daughters.
Verisa? Is Verisa still at the tavern?
No, she has left for the
Dang it.
festival.
Yeah, because I was like, you could borrow some off of one of those girls.
I was gonna say, like, could I borrow hers or buy an old one off of her or something?
Yeah,
But if she's not there, I can't talk to her.
yeah.
So.
Her daughters are still there. Like Vior and Varisa's daughters are still around. Mirinde and
Would their
The daughters, yeah.
would one of their dresses fit me?
no,
One of
but
them
they.
was more elvish.
Yeah, but she's still very short. She's they are about gnome size because gnomes are half elves, half dwarves in our setting, and so they are still considerably smaller than any of you. But you could speak to them about one of Varisa's dresses if you wanted.
Okay.
Mini skirt.
Wait, where do we hit pan?
Fashion wave.
And before you go looking for formal dress, it's around this time that Dogri arrives to come see all of you. She's already wearing a very fine white dress. Upon seeing that none of you are dressed, she looks a little baffled. And is sort of just like, you were planning on going to the festival, weren't you?
I can go change.
Yeah.
Be right back. I just remembered. Thank you, Dagger.
Where do I get chrome plating?
Chrome plating.
Busy afternoon.
Yeah, put on your fancy polish.
Rub and buff.
It's like, if I'm going to a
Make sure
party,
you
you
buy
have to be
that
able to see yourself.
Rusty's.
Yeah.
Rusty bumper.
As I turn to show everybody the new buff.
Ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
Arriving at the party this evening, a Warforged in the buff. Anyway. So,
Is my guy presentable, or is this an issue?
100% him. Get a rusty rag.
David, my guy still in costume or no?
you would have still been in costume from earlier, so you're probably fine. You were in fine clothing when you went to speak to the banker. And Maleko comes out and is just working at the bar, so you can.
I'm gonna run up to him.
Okay.
Can I borrow some fancy clothes for tonight?
He looks at you and looks you up and down. Says like, Looks like we'd be about the same size. I suppose it's fine. Try not to ruin it. I know what sorts of things you people get up to. Like he gives
What kind of party
Dogry
is this?
he gives Dogry a knowing look and just kind of you get the
Less
impression.
fancy clothes.
So yeah, he goes back into the back and brings out one of his fine suits. And
So fancy.
he says, "Please change in your room. You'll upset the other guests if you change out here."
Yeah.
Yeah, I excuse myself to go change as well.
Okay.
Just take care of that.
I'm just a poor girl. Nobody loves me.
Just a poor girl from a poor family.
Yes.
Sorry. We're not playing with toys there, I promise.
Right,
Go find one of the daughters. See if you
Yeah.
can talk to them.
Aida and Mirinde both are running around working, so.
I kind of go up to one of them and, does your mom have any spare formal attire that I could maybe buy somewhat cheap?
This little case underneath that last one.
Yeah, you picked to go up to Mirinde for this one just because you kind of suspect that since she takes a little more after her father and is a little more dwarven in attitude, that she'll be a little more pragmatic about this. And she just kind of gives you a wink and says, "Oh, sure, I'll come with me." And she leads you upstairs into her mother's room and says, "It's like you can pick what you like. There are several dresses there that would fit you."
That works.
Are there any darker toned, match my cloak kind of dresses?
Yeah, there are at least a couple of black dresses.
Okay. Is there one that looks really simple in design?
Yeah, there is.
Okay. I would pick that.
Okay. She says, "Well, you're in luck. I don't think Mother ever wears this one anymore. She won't even miss it." So.
Perfect.
Can I give you at least a gold piece? I would feel terrible just taking it.
Says, "You can give me 2 if you'd like." She just kind of laughs and says, "You don't have to pay me, but I'll take it if you want to."
Please,
I walked into that one. Jeez.
Steal it. Be a thief. Yes.
Dual class. So 1 gold piece?
Sure, that's fine. Sorry, I need to pick up one of my maps that I only have on paper right now because I didn't digitalize the mansion map.
Okay, so I take the dress and go to my room to change.
Okay.
Get all fancied up.
Holy cow, I forgot how much there was to this map. Okay. I have here 3 pages of mansion map.
Whoa!
Zoom.
Any way to you bigger up here? Bigify.
Alright, so you arrive in front of a very grand mansion. It's not very far, just a little ways to the south on the southern end of town. Just a little ways outside the town proper. You arrive at a pretty grand mansion for a town this size. And there's a big entrance, and then on the left side you can see a carriage house. There's a little porte cochere that coaches can drive through, and so that they can be parked in the guest carriage houses back there, and their horses can be taken to the stables. And it's a very grand mansion, painted painted white, and so you can go in where you like. There are a few valets milling around, helping with people's carriages over by the carriage houses.
So there's the carriage houses, the entrance, and like, are there people milling around, or are we we're still outside the party right now?
Yeah, you're still outside the party. There are people beginning to... You're not the only ones that are arriving at this time, so there are people that are beginning to mill around and walk into the main entrance.
Okay, well,
I
gone in.
forgot to ask. Did Doggery give me my battle axe yet, or
She did,
do you have
yes.
like hidden in a cart somewhere?
Yeah, she returned it to you. It does look a little incongruous with your suit that you're carrying around, this giant battle axe, but as people...
It's my walking stick.
Yeah, Doggery's walking with you, and as people give you odd looks, and like one of the guards looks like he is considering taking it from you, and Doggery says essentially that she's just like, "How dare you! Look at this coating. This is clearly a ceremonial weapon. It's silver. This isn't a weapon that you would use in an actual battle. It's important to his culture. Let him in." And like, people pretty much shy away from the giant dragonborn telling them this as well. So
Yeah.
Goliath and Dragonborn into a bar, right?
Everybody's Dragonborn to a party.
yeah, Doggery
And
has...
aware.
Yeah, you're all walking in. Doggery
all
has
leave
linked
our
arms with Tamati,
weapons?
so...
Don't hit anybody.
I wear mine around my neck all the time, so it doesn't matter.
There you go.
She's just
So
like,
are
how...
the rest of us still armed?
Probably it's those of you that have visible weapons, they'd be reasonably concealed. A lot of you don't really carry much in the way of weapons that are
Not a lot,
large,
but...
so... Because a
Yeah,
couple of you
okay.
are monks, some of you use daggers, that sort of thing.
Cool.
That means I don't have my gun.
Try and mute.
Yeah, you can have concealed your gun.
It's mute. Red light off is mute. Sorry, I'm teaching Russell how to use my mic. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, you can
I'm
have
looking at it,
concealed your
okay?
smaller gun.
He's been on mute for the last like 10 minutes. He didn't know it.
I could still hear myself.
Yeah, Russell, Cineas can have concealed his smaller gun, but the musket, there's no way you're going to be able to hide to get in here.
Does it break in half?
No.
There's people with dresses, you know.
You don't
Shut
have
up,
a
somebody-
dress. You've just
Are
got your
you
buff,
wearing a
man.
dress? Because, I mean,
Ceremonial
I don't
wraps.
know.
if you want to be a Warforged in a dress, you can have borrowed a dress from somebody or something and come in here with a dress.
We won't judge
But I
you.
get my gun, right?
I'll say,
Okay.
if you decide you wore a dress, you can smuggle in the musket under your skirt. That's the only way you're getting it in
I'll be
here.
okay.
Yeah, how you want to start your reputation?
No. No.
Like, honestly, other beings have no idea what sex or gender or whatever you want to call it a Warforged is. It's pretty much entirely based on what the Warforged claims to be. So you entirely could get away with claiming to be a female Warforged tonight. if you want.
There you go.
Problem is, my guy thinks he's a guy.
Yeah, you think you're a Dragonborn, that's true.
Yeah. It's great.
So yeah, you'll be able to get in with your pepper box, but not with the musket. And but yeah, like, I'm just still kind of amused at the idea of Doggery. It's like, how dare you dishonor this man by trying to take his ceremonial weapon? And she leans over to you after she leans over to you after she's gotten the guards to go away and says, "Please don't hit anyone in here with that."
I make no promise.
I feel like Mouse wouldn't come in with everybody else. That she would like try to take a different entrance so that she would be associated with everybody else, you know? Because she's
Okay.
trying to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, trying to stay on the down
Trying to
low.
keep Yoga Dagger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She'd try to like be an official person so that it's easier.
Yeah.
Like,
All right. So, are you guys just going in the front door then
I am.
Yeah.
into the party?
Yeah.
Yeah.
except for Mouse.
Yes.
Yeah, Mouse can look around to see if you can find a way in. As you're kind of checking around the perimeter of the building, and you do see that there is another entrance in the back through the scullery where the dishes are washed that goes through the kitchens and that sort of thing. And there are a lot of people busily working around there. So if you
I would probably be like just watching to see like what kinds of servants are kind of like going in at first, because I wouldn't want to be a dishwasher.
yeah, well, the
Baker. You always want to be the baker.
yeah, the,
Yeah,
the
hide your
s-
dagger in your hat.
yeah, the scullery is just the other entrance that you're able to get in through. The cooking staff and everyone else are also coming through that entrance when they come in and out.
Yeah, I think Mouse would probably go through there and try to like find someone to talk to that looks official and be like, someone told me that I should come and help out because I'm guessing they're hiring lots of extra people.
Yeah. Okay,
And
so
try to get assigned a job that's like an official job.
yeah, you find an official-looking butler and explain this to him, and he just sort of sighs and says, "And they didn't even bother to give you a uniform. Come with me." And he leads you inside through the scullery, through the kitchen, through the dining hall, and takes you into the servants' supply room and says, there's spare uniforms here. Find something that fits you and change into it, and find the master of the kitchens, and she'll tell you what to do after that. So
Does Mouse know how to?
I have a question.
what's that?
Is there a way that I can sneak Loki into this party?
Yeah.
I believe you can just like essentially. I believe you
Could
can
be like your
essentially just.
accessory.
Just flying around and landed on top.
He's just a bird.
Okay.
I believe you can essentially unsummon him temporarily. Let me check that.
Hmm.
Where would it say that?
I'm going
I
to
have
look.
that in my notes somewhere.
I don't
It's
know
like
if you
Johnny
have
Depp
it
in The
in
Lone
your
Ranger.
notes or not.
Just a hat.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So is this going to be like a festival in like a inner courtyard, or are we going to be in the mansion mostly?
In the mansion.
Okay.
There is a courtyard
Because I
behind the
imagine
mansion,
coming in
but-
with a raven on my shoulder would be frowned upon.
Yeah, you'd garner some
Maybe.
attention at the least.
Yeah.
Yup.
Only
Yeah.
some.
Oh, hey, David.
Yes.
Could you
Sneak.
Oh my
Here's what I would do is
I
sneak him in
couldn't
under
hear
my
that.
cloak. Like, want to see a magic trick?
Yeah.
could you send me
This raven all of a sudden flies up to the ceiling.
What was that,
Distraction.
Chris?
I'm kidding. I'm not.
I think he needs his character sheet.
I was joking, totally joking, but I'm like, I sneak him in under my cloak, and I'm like, you want to see a magic trick? And I just let him go, and he flies up to the ceiling.
Character sheet for
It's entertaining.
Ta-da!
Chris.
Yeah,
you
I
need
can
your
wear a
character
trench
sheet?
coat.
Yeah,
On
let's
Loki's
see if I
character
can.
sheet.
I could have brought it in.
Yeah, I will send you that. Just a second. Let me see.
Oh, Daniel. The guy who was from Australia in my other game, he was a golem, and he wore a dries bone.
Oh,
I don't have anything on the
I have to
character
buy one of
sheet
those
that
because
says
they're so
anything.
fantastic.
It sounded awesome.
Oh man, they're so nice. Best trench coat ever.
Yeah. And the name, I mean, it's amazing.
Dry-bone. That's what I love about the Aussies. They're like, make it really short and flow. Dry as a bone.
Call it
Dry
what
as
it is.
I love it. I lost Chris and Heidi.
Yep.
Oh, yep.
Oh no!
Okay, did a bomb go off? Kind of nice to know. I don't like losing people.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You guys hear us?
Yep.
We hear you, we don't see you.
Reconnect.
Now
There you go,
I
there's
can
Chris.
see Chris.
Hey.
Wait, did you refresh or push reconnect?
Refresh.
No, no refresh. Just push
Yay.
reconnect on.
Yay.
Hi!
No.
Yep.
Yay.
There we go.
There it is.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what's happening.
Okay. Yeah, I don't believe that you actually can unsummon Loki, so the only way you'd be able to
Okay. Do I have a blanket or something that I can kind of wrap him in?
I mean, he's technically a spirit, so he can just hold very still and you can smuggle him in wherever you have room.
Well, because what
So.
I was thinking is he's got mimicry, so maybe if I like swaddled him
Yeah.
and had him like cry like a baby,
Yeah. There you go.
I could sneak in that way.
And
Yeah.
garner lots of angry scowls.
Well,
Yeah,
wait.
you.
Single mom.
Being the familiar, can't you just have it be part of your clothing for the time being?
Is that a thing I can do? I don't think that's a thing I can do.
Makes a nice hat.
Yeah, with Loki being a spirit, I would rule that you can probably just have him like essentially take incorporeal form if you want to, or you can just try to sneak
have him
out.
like phase through the wall.
Yeah.
That could be really useful.
Yeah.
I mean, if he could like look into rooms without us actually having to be like, oh no, you're not supposed to go there.
Just stick his head in. Okay, go look.
Yeah,
then I
he's
think we're
he's not able to
connected
phase
as
through
long-
walls like
As long
that,
as
but
he's within... Yeah.
Just
Frequent
incorporate.
urination.
Oh, if he...
Since becoming pregnant, you
What the?
I was gonna say,
What was
like,
that?
so he like is transparent for a while
Like, that's like
while I
where-
sneak him in. Since he's a spirit, I don't know.
Heidi, I thought you guys just had a kid.
No, I was
Slow
looking at-
down.
I was looking at something for my sister.
Okay.
Who's pregnant.
Oh, that's right, honeymoon baby.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Literal honeymoon baby.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, so yeah, you can basically make him take an invisible form, but
Okay.
that's
Then I'll have him do that and just still have him on my shoulder.
okay.
Someone goes to pat you on the shoulder.
Huh? What was that, Chris?
Oh, someone goes to tap you on the shoulder.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
what?
what did I just touch?
What is that?
Okay, so the rest of you that have gone in by the main entrance, you come into a very, very fancy entryway. There are large double doors leading into a very big room. It's painted deep red with gold and black patterns along each wall. There's a huge chandelier hanging from the center of the ceiling. A pair of grand staircases in the center of the room lead up to balconies. And there's another pair of large double doors on the left side, and there's a passageway to your direct right and along the back right wall. And And I kind of wish I had mapped this out for Roll20, but I did not. So
That's okay. So in this entry, is it just kind of people mingling, and are those doors closed, or are they open to the flow of partygoers?
the doors are closed, but
You guys are cutting
they
me
don't.
out.
You see a couple of people coming in
You
and
guys
out
hear
of
us?
certain places.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so are people like mingling up on the balconies too? Everyone's just everywhere, right?
Yeah,
Just
right.
people
Out
everywhere.
here, there are people pretty much everywhere.
What are we here for?
It's the
Investigate.
winter, no, the harvest festival.
Harvest Moon Festival.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I
I'm
was
just
gonna
gonna
say
spice
winter
and
crafts,
go
but
from
that's
there.
the.
Yeah, it's.
We're gonna
you're-
find what's the name.
That's what the festival is for. You guys are here to find out something about Cora Wynne and the disappearance of Giles Walda.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, and you see there is a general flow along the back of the room towards two doors that are kind of behind the staircase that lead into a great hall area where the bulk of the party is happening.
Right. To the party!
Yay!
Let's see.
I kind of feel I want to kind of look like I'm mingling, but kind of just kind of flow in through those other doors just to kind of get a look at what's going on in there too.
Okay.
So kind of like starting with the direct right, just kind of taking in the scenery and stuff. And if those doors aren't, go not off limits or anything, there's people going through them. I just kind of want to flow through and just kind of mingly walk around through,
Okay.
starting with the direct right doors.
Usually closed door means don't
Okay.
go through there.
Yeah.
But it's a party in a mansion.
Yeah, I'm just telling you.
Oh, but okay.
the passage
so-
directly to the right of you doesn't even have a door. It's just open.
Oh, okay.
And it kind of turns to the right. And as you kind of flow in that way, that leads you into a library, a huge, huge library with rows of dark wood shelves packed to every edge with books. And there are a few guests here, but it's largely empty. There's along one side you see a closed door that you occasionally see servants milling in and out of, and on the other side of the room you see another closed door.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll just remember that and kind of just walk around, take it in, and then go back out to the main entry.
Okay. Yeah, the door on the one side of the library that is not where servants are milling in, as you kind of pass by it, you see that it does have a glass window that shows through to a corridor that leads through with a few doors to other rooms on that side.
Are those 3 game print?
Okay.
And you
Next one?
Yeah.
you kind of make your way back out to the grand foyer where you entered.
Good.
And as you're walking around the area, you see that in addition to the big staircase going up that leads to the balconies, behind that staircase there is another staircase that leads downward to the basement floor. Guests aren't generally walking down there, but there is a way down.
Okay. Basement sounds ominous.
I like the idea of going there.
Nope, 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 nope.
Why not? It's a basement. It's dark. There's answers.
There's answers.
So
Answers.
Dark.
those of you that are
You
in
have
the
your
grand foyer, those of you that are still in the grand foyer in that general area, what is your passive perception?
15. Wait, do I get an increase to passive perception with Loki on my shoulder? Or is that
Yes.
perception checks?
It's both.
Oh, wait, that would be calculated in
I have
already, so it's
just
15.
+1.
Yeah.
I'm at 15.
All right. So
Oh, Do we need to roll for that?
No, passive perception is.
No, it's on your paper.
Yeah, okay. Because I was like, just 15 to 1 is like a huge discrepancy, so cool.
Yeah.
Go perceptive.
It's already broken, right?
Yeah, so those of you that have 15 and around their perception see that along the left side, there's...
Oh, 13.
Yeah,
Sorry.
along the left side where you came in, there's an inconspicuous doorknob on what looks like a wall. It you assume from its location, since it's right out in the open here, that it's probably a cloakroom where like the servants take people's cloaks and coats and stuff as they come in. And
Okay, who has an excuse to open it?
I can go open it.
Mouse? Wait, are you out yet?
Sorry,
Mouse
what?
is in the kitchen.
Right.
Yeah,
If the servant,
She's getting
if she comes out, she can open the door, grab somebody's coat, and we can figure out what's in there.
Or I could go drop off Maleko's suit coat.
There you go.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say I have my cloak on.
But your
Yeah.
bird's there.
He can flap up.
He's
Oh.
invisible right now. Yeah.
If you're going to try to do that, even though you're not necessarily trying to hide, roll a stealth check just to see if you can avoid the notice of going into the cloakroom, because that's normally a place the servants go. Just kind of see if you can look around surreptitiously and just kind of
I
sneak in.
wasn't planning on doing that
Yeah.
right now.
Anyone
I
who
was gonna
wants
wait
to
and see
do
if
it.
someone approaches me.
Just a 12?
What?
12
Just a D20 for stealth.
Yeah, d20 plus your
Hey-ya.
stealth modifier.
10 plus 3, 13.
Okay, you are able to sneak in to the cloakroom. You're pretty sure nobody saw you as you came in here. People are pretty engaged in speaking to each other and kind of milling towards the Great Hall and that sort of thing. And you duck into the cloakroom. It's not very large. There are just a bunch of cloaks and coats hung up here. You can look through them if you like. You just want to be careful not to take too long, lest a servant catch you in here.
Yeah, right. Mostly I'm looking like Narnia style, any like secret doors.
Huh?
So mostly I'm just looking around to see if there's like Narnia style, if there's any secret doors or anything like that.
Okay, roll investigation.
20 plus. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
3?
Oh, 2
No, 3.
minus 1.
Yeah, you
I can't think of anything.
yeah, you see a lot of cloaks in here.
Yeah. So many varieties.
Like, some of them are like in all different colors. Some of these have pockets.
I have pockets in my cloak, man.
I don't have
Alright, fine.
pockets.
Alright, so I'll sneak back out.
Okay, you duck back out of the cloakroom, and surprisingly, no one notices you, even though you are a giant 8-foot tall man. Like,
Just ducking out.
you're just
Literally ducking out.
pretty sneaky Goliath.
Over axe.
That's what we want. You should have
Are you
played a
sure you're
Goliath.
barbarian?
You should have played a Goliath rogue and just been like this.
That would have been so cool.
The sneakiest man mountain of all time.
Oh, man.
Oh, the beauty. Oh, man.
The bearded shadow.
The bearded shadow.
That's not a beard.
Yeah, there's still 2 doors along the left side of the room, and the doors into the Great Hall along the back, and then there's a passage to the right along the back in the grand foyer that nobody has visited.
Those are epic.
Can I
And
kind
the
of
stairs.
stealth along there and see, kind of off to the left on my way to the Great Hall? Just kind of stealth around and see kind of what I can perceive.
Yeah. What area are you wanting to? What are you wanting to check for?
The doors that are off to the left.
Yeah, there are two
You
sets
said
of
haven't
doors.
checked
There's
those yet.
Yeah, there are two sets of doors. There's a middle set at which you see a few people coming in and out of, and there's a set to the back that you don't see people coming in and out of.
Okay, I'll do the middle one first.
Okay. So you just kind of duck in as some other people are walking through, and you see this is a large room with one open glass wall to let in light, where a small garden of mostly flowers is growing, and there are quite a few different kinds of flowers here. It's a conservatory, basically.
Oh, okay.
Would any of those is it possible that any of those plants may have like uses in like spells that we've been investigating?
Ooh, yeah.
You would have to make either a nature or an arcana check to find that out.
Can I do an arcana check for that?
You can, yeah.
Okay. Oh, I missed my box. Hold on. I have to find the... Oh, natural one.
Oh!
Look at all the pretty colors.
They're so beautiful.
Yeah, you've definitely seen some of these flowers in your travels, but you don't really know anything about them. So you're not familiar with
Oh, I
whether
remember that one.
Yeah.
Make fun of me. I rolled 2.
Maybe I'll do
I
a
said
check.
nothing. I said nothing.
Okay. Semaeus, are you going to go into the conservatory and check then?
Yeah, I think I will.
Okay.
Just to see if I can know any of the flowers.
Yeah, nature or arcana, either way.
Okay, well, let me see. Let me see what. Oh yeah, I got a 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think that some of these flowers probably have herbal uses and that sort of thing, but you're not familiar with what they would be or which ones. You just get that sense
What kind
about
of
it.
check did you just do, Russell?
I was doing what was it? The nature check.
Okay.
I should have done perception, but that won't really count on this
Yeah,
one.
perception wouldn't help you with that.
Do you want to investigate for any? Are there any other doors, or is it just the conservatory?
There's but further back from where the conservatory doors are, there are another set of doors, and there's actually a set of doors from the conservatory. Uh-oh.
That's what I meant.
Sweetie, your mom says they can hear us through the vent.
Okay.
So I'm gonna shut my vent.
Okay. I don't know how much that'll help, but we'll see.
Yeah. Stuff a
There's
pillow.
always duct tape and a pillow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there are doors leading back from the conservatory, and through the side of the conservatory where the glass wall is, you can see the porte cochere and the carriage house out that way. But yeah, there is another set of doors leading, you can tell just from the structure of the building, into the same place the further back set of doors leads out in the grand foyer. They both lead into the same room.
Interesting.
But there are fewer people to notice you ducking in there in the conservatory, so it's easier to get in from here.
Yeah.
Is there a servant nearby? A servant of the house?
Not at the moment, no. But
Okay.
if you're looking for one, it would not be long, I'm sure.
I was thinking about looking for one to ask them if I could go to a private study or to their library so I could draft a letter.
Okay. Yeah, you're able to
Alright.
find a servant pretty quickly, and this isn't a very unusual request for a noble to make at one of this sort of to do. So they lead you off to the library.
All right. So yeah, I'll go into the library and I'm going to start drafting a letter until I feel pretty safe that nobody's around.
Okay.
The Memoirs of Semaeus.
We went werewolf hunting today.
The
Yeah.
kitty's here. Come here.
Sadie, you should check out what's in that door through the conservatory.
Oh, there's a door?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed that part.
Yeah, you were fixing the vent.
Yeah, doors in the conservatory that
Um,
lead, you can tell just from the structure of the building that these doors lead to the same place that the further back doors out in the grand foyer do. They,
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna go check through there. See
okay.
if there's anything of interest.
Yeah, you find a storage
Is there a map
room.
somewhere?
Hey.
What?
Stay happy.
Is there like a map somewhere or something? Or
Stay here.
No, there's
oh, okay.
not a map for this because I didn't
Oh.
digitalize this map. I should have.
All right, well, no.
That's okay.
I'm like, I have a map here with stuff,
There,
but
look at it, look at it.
I'm the map, I'm the map, I'm the map.
Yep.
Yeah, so what you find here is a mostly empty room. There are a couple of chairs and that sort of thing in pretty poor condition. This is probably a storage room that is mostly empty because most of the spare items are in use for the party right now. So it's pretty bare in here.
Can I do like an investigation check to see if there are any like hidden compartments in this storage room?
You can do that, yeah.
Reveal all your secrets.
What?
Oh, I'm just chuckling at your mom. What am I rolling? Investigation?
That was what you said, yes.
13.
Nice.
Yeah, you look around and this room is pretty unremarkable. There's not really anything to be found here.
Okay. I'm gonna head back to the main foyer and make my way to the ballroom.
Okay.
I would like to mingle up the grand stairs and check out what's up on the balconies.
Okay. The balconies, they mostly just overlook the grand foyer, but there are rooms up here as well that you can see doors to. There are several doors. There are two off to the left. There's one that leads into the balconies over the Great Hall where the main party is happening, and those doors are wide open. You see people kind of mingling in and out of the Great Hall balconies. And there are doors, three doors off to the right. Yeah, 3 doors off to the right side of the balconies. And the center door is pretty clearly just like bathrooms, and because
Okay.
you see guests moving in and out of there periodically, and the other doors you're not sure of.
Okay. I think that I will make my way into the balconies in the Great Hall.
Okay.
Hi, Chris.
I know you don't like cats, but you know.
No, the cat went to Daniel. It's not fair. You want to come back to me?
So those of you that have gone into the Great Hall, either on the ground level or the balcony level, you see that this is it's a vast room. It's painted a deep, rich blue, highly polished stone floors down on the ground floor, and blue carpeted floors up on the balconies. There's an incredibly ornate chandelier made of crystal and gold hanging in the center, and the light that it spreads seems to be coming from small enchanted balls rather than from candles. The room is buzzing with activity, probably at least 300 people in here, a solid quarter of the entire town's population mingling around. There are at least a dozen large tables set with gold tablecloths down on the ground floor. There's a large fountain in the center of the room beneath the chandelier. In one corner you see a small band, and you recognize Bior on violin playing music over in one corner. There are lots of people talking, eating, drinking, dancing to the music. Let's see. Wynne, you see a woman who you know has to be Verisa because she so closely resembles Aida, her daughter, although she is much taller. She's speaking to a half-orc off on one side, and there are servants weaving through the room, carrying platters of drinks and fine food. You see mostly pretty much the sort of people you'd expect in a small town like this. There are lots of halflings, humans, and dwarves, but you do see a few odd faces that are a little more out of place here. You see what appears to be, at one point you see a halfling tiefling hybrid who is very short for a tiefling, and that's how you can tell, like short and slight for a tiefling. And she is wearing an old military uniform that isn't from any conflict you're familiar with. There's a green dragonborn wandering around in what appear to be merchant's clothing. And other than that, pretty much everyone looks about as you'd expect them to. And,
I'm gonna fluff my hair to try and hide my ears a little more.
Okay.
Because I'm.
My hair too.
So I guess at the desk, is it okay if I start doing a little scrounging in the desk where I'm at? See if they have any log books there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there's not a lot of activity in the library, so it's not too conspicuous. You do find some accounting books. Anything in particular you're looking for?
The usual things that are out of place. Shipments that go to a location that wouldn't normally have the shipment going there. You always find the odd things that aren't right.
Yeah, these accounts appear to be more general household accounts than specific purchases made by any of the siblings themselves. These are more household necessities and that sort of thing. You suspect that to find the private logs of that sort of thing, you'd have to actually go find the individual studies and check into those.
Okay.
And the music in the Great Hall comes to a stop as Bior and his band finish the piece they were playing, and everyone claps politely, and there's sort of a hush over the room as Bior steps forward, puts his violin down, and everyone quiets because they know that he's about to speak. And Bior's stories are famous in these parts. You've heard about them already. And he steps forward and says, "In my youth, a few years before I met my dear Varisa, I travelled for a time with a few friends with whom I'd come of age. Duavel, human bigger than some Goliaths I've met, a bit simple, finest swordsman in the history of the weapon though. Shane, halfling paladin, devout servant of Tynel, just and strong, full of the fire of faith. Zevon, half-orc thief who could have snatched a book out of your hands while you were reading it. You wouldn't even notice it was gone until the end of the chapter. Trevon, half-elk cleric of BMA, the wisest and bravest man I've ever known. And myself, the humble bard. We made quite a name for ourselves. Kings and commoners alike spoke in hushed tones of the great adventuring band. The White Steel Wind, they called us. Of course, you'd ask one of us what we were called. We were the fancy lads, none fancier than myself, naturally. In our travels together, we came up against a powerful foe, an elven archmage named Malleus, powerful beyond imagination, filled with hatred, determined to cleanse the world in fire, so he said. If we'd not stopped him, he may well have opened the elemental plane of fire to the world, let it spill out over us all, and by the time we got in his way, he'd already killed dozens, maybe hundreds of people. We tracked him for the better part of 3 years, found him twice, stopped his plans in their tracks each time. Duavel saw things in simple terms. To him, Malleus was a bad man, the sort that has to be stopped. Shane swore that he'd bring down justice on his head, and with all we knew then, it's hard to say he was wrong. Zevon saw in Malleus a man who was too powerful and dangerous to be left alone, and felt we had to stop him. As for me, well, I was little more than a boy at the time. Everything was a ballad to me, simple tales of good and evil, black and white. We were good. They'd put white in the name they called us. Meleus was a killer, evil, dark, ugly. The story needed him put down. Trevon, though, he saw it differently than any of us. Sometimes he'd say maybe Meleus wasn't some monster, but just a man. He said we've all had bad days, days when we've said and done and been things we never wanted to be. Maybe, just maybe, Trevon wondered, Meleus had too many of those days, and they dragged him down deep like a weight. We didn't see it. We all laughed at him when he'd say things like that. The day came when we caught up to Meleus. We followed him down into the depths of the Underdark, back up through the veins of Mount Arevia in the north of Fenvale. Arevia was a volcano. The heat was intense. The air swam with it right before our eyes. We were sweating rivers. It felt like hours before we finally caught up with him. He led us in strange spirals through the caves, out over precarious ledges on the west side of the mountain, bathed in bloody crimson as the sun set on a day we'd all felt coming in our very bones. And then, like everything had been leading up to this, we were there at the peak. We saw dozens of Meleus' servants, some mortal creatures of flesh and blood, who saw Meleus as a prophet calling up destruction on a doomed and wicked world. Some strange beings of animated stone and fire, built by Meleus' own hand to serve him without question. We saw him there, floating in the air over the center of the crater, reading from a scroll made from the skin of a man. We saw swirls of magic in the air. Magma rose up bit by bit from the throat of the volcano, edging closer, burning the air around us. It felt like all I could see was red and yellow light. All I could smell was brimstone. All I could feel was heat. Thought we'd fry in our armor like heirloom chickens, I did, but there was no time to think about that. The battle began. Duoval charged in, sword drawn, screaming out a war cry. Shane raised the symbol of Tynel over his head high. I could see the divine power gathering in his hands as he readied spells of righteous destruction. Zevon loosed a few arrows. I sang songs of power that made the air vibrate with magic, drawing out Meleus' weaknesses, using them to bolster our strengths. Meleus blasted at us with fireballs from one hand and kept reading those fell, dark words. My hair stood on end. Every syllable from his mouth like lightning into the center of my soul. For a moment I wondered if this moment was the end. If everything I'd ever known, every song I'd ever learned, every love I'd ever felt, every step I'd ever taken through this world was about to go up in flames. And then Trevon took a step forward, dropped his mace, unbuckled his armor, and let it fall to the ground. Shane shouted at him, "What are you doing, man? You're going to get yourself killed." Trevon turned to us, gave us a smile. I've never seen a smile look so achingly sad, resigned to something none of us could understand. He dropped his pack, kicked it toward us, and he ran, straight to the rim. He waved his hand. The stone of the mountain obeyed his call, stretching out under him like the hand of a god holding him safe in its palm. He was going straight for Meleus. Meleus saw him coming and blasted a barrage of magic like nothing I've ever seen. Trevon just took it, every last bit of it. Fire and ice and wind and stone, forces tore into him. By the end of it, I know there's not a chance Trevon could live unless he was healed. I saw arcs of blood fly from him and fall down into the volcano. If I'd seen the front side of him, I doubt there would have been much more left than bone. The stone bridge beneath him stopped. I saw him leap out over thin air, catching Meleus as he went. We screamed for him in horror. Moments went by like years as we watched him fall, inch by inch toward death below. As they fell, I sang a song of sorrow and fear. I felt the magic of it building with every note. I reached out with that power to touch them. I wanted to know why, and with that power I saw for a few moments through Trevon's eyes, saw the confusion and hatred in Meleus' eyes, heard the words between them, no more than whispers. "You are forgiven," Trevon said. "Rhea and Theodore wait for you." And then he whispered the words of a spell I'd only rarely heard from him, a spell of atonement, meant to free the souls of the willing and penitent from evils they'd committed. And in that moment I saw Meleus' face change. He wasn't a monster, not some cruel creature who sought only destruction. He became a sad, lonely old man, his face filled with shock. They fell down sure and fast toward the magma below, and I only heard 2 more words before it consumed them. Words I will never forget from the lips of Meleus, the man I knew beyond all shadow of a doubt to be a truly, deeply, irredeemably evil man. "Thank you," he said. And then there was heat and pain and light, and I couldn't bear to be linked to Trevon anymore. My friend died. My enemy died. We were shocked. We flew into a rage, destroyed Meleus' foul servants and maddened followers. When the fighting was all done, the sky turned from a smoky, claustrophobic black to a deep, boundless blue. There were so many stars. I almost thought we might be able to see the future tucked in between them if we just knew where to look. The moon was rising. It was huge and bright. I couldn't bear to look at it, because every time I did, I saw Trevon's last smile shining back at me from it, haunting me as sure as any ghost. Before the night was over, we looked in Trevon's pack, and there was something there that we'd never seen, he'd never showed to us. A book, a journal. I started reading. Before long I knew who'd written it. Malleus. Trevon had found his journal along the way when we'd found one of his strongholds. He'd never told us what he'd found because he knew we'd never see it as it truly was, not with the kind of youthful fury we felt then. Before all this started, Malleus was just a man, a miner. Digging for ore, he found something old and strange and dangerous. An amulet, some symbol he'd never seen. He picked it up. As soon as it touched his skin, it filled him up with power. So much power he couldn't hold it. It filled him with knowledge. Strange words he didn't know but understood somehow flowed through him out into the world. A wave of energy. He didn't know it when it happened, but a wave of magic blasted through his body, up out of the mine. That wave of magic killed his wife Rhea and his 3-year-old son Theodore, and everyone else in his little village. When he came back, there was nothing left there for him but rubble, splinters of wood, shards of stone, bits of bone. Could have kept reading. A few days later I did. Malleus told the story in his own words. It was all so clear. Like I was there to see it myself. I could see how his confused, broken heart twisted his mind. I could see how his grief turned to anger, how anger turned to vengeance on a world in which he'd had no choice. But before all of that, I read only as far as the page where the poor man had lost his wife and son. I stopped there because it was bookmarked, and in Trevon's handwriting on that bookmark there were written 7 words. 7 simple words that changed the very nature of every single moment of my life before and since. To feel sorrow is to deserve peace. Malleus was a monster. He was a dangerous man. He was powerful. He was out of control. He had to be stopped, and beneath all that, behind the facade of justice from us, Malleus was the same as me. If I'd gone through what he had, I would have walked the exact same road, every step. It was clear to me then, and even clearer in my later years when I looked back on it. If something beyond me had stolen my sweet Parisa from me, my dear Aida, my dear Marinde, left me with nothing, I would have broken. The anger I would have unleashed would be as legendary as the dragon Holothrain himself. I would have become a monster. I would have become Malleus. Fear is powerful, hatred more so. Both are tainted, they're dark and ugly and false, and if you hear them speak, don't trust their words. Malleus meant the world harm, and he needed to be stopped. But Trevon was right. Malleus wasn't evil. He was hurt, and hurt more than anything can make monsters of us all. Thank you. And he steps back and begins playing again. Everyone is applauding for him, and then he steps back and picks up his violin and returns to playing the music.
Oof.
It's elegant.
Did my guy miss all of that?
Yep.
What?
You're rummaging in a desk in the library.
Yeah.
The wrong desk.
Mouse is looking.
I was gonna look in the library for any secret passages, since that's usually common.
Okay. Yeah, you can make an investigation check to look around for that.
You only find a candlestick.
We'll see. I only find a candlestick. Okay.
So incriminating.
I think I hit a door wire.
Water
rolled a
bottle,
2.
Sadie.
Say what?
I like your water bottle.
Oh, thank you.
You only have to fill it up once per day, right? Just like,
I'm trying. I'm actually on day 2 with this one, but
Yeah, so some of you I think are in the Great Hall, and some of you are still out in the Grand Foyer, I believe.
What's Mouse up to?
What is Mouse up to?
Baking.
so, Mouse, I think. Didn't you tell her to go, like, talk to somebody?
yeah, he went to go get her uniform.
Yeah, so we got the
we were in with her.
uniform, and then he told me to talk to a lady in like the cooking area.
Yeah,
So she probably did that. So she probably would talk to that lady to get assigned a position somewhere.
Okay. At this point, you do already have the uniform, though. You could probably move around freely without talking to anyone if you wanted.
Yeah, that's true. But if by doing that, I would be assigned a position where I could top people to talk to, and I feel like other staff members might it might be good to talk to the other staff members to see if they have any leads or if there's anyone friendly that you kind of like become friends with to try to like.
Who would be the most talkative to go with then?
But yeah, I don't know. I'll probably have her like assigned to something and then work on that for a little bit, and then if it doesn't go anywhere, then just be like, oh, I have to go over here.
Yeah. Right, so you find the mistress of the kitchens, and she assigns you to carry platters of drinks and food out to the Great Hall where people are mingling.
That's awesome.
Okay. Which means Mouse
So if that
probably
had been the
actually
case, she'd
would have
caught
been... Yeah, you probably actually would have caught Bior's
That's what
story
I was
while you were
gonna
out there.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. So she like would probably go try to talk to the people that are, because you know you fill up the drinks from I'm guessing like a bunch of like one location. So she'd try to like strike up conversations with the other employees to try to get some leads there. See if anybody like knows anything.
Okay. Yeah, you're filling drinks in the kitchen. And the kitchen is pretty much a bustle with servants. There's food being cooked, drinks opened, mixed, and poured everywhere. There's the door that you came in through the scullery. There's a one corner staircase leading downward that goes to a larder that you see servants coming up and down from, bringing various ingredients and items and that sort of thing. And most of the servants are too busy to really talk. They kind of duck in and out pretty quickly. When they do speak, it's pretty limited. They seem friendly, but they're not terribly inclined to stop what they're doing because someone would yell at them. And so everything moves pretty quickly in here right now. There's a lot going on. There are a lot of guests.
Okay. So I think would it be better to go like wander around and like try to like listen to different guests and what they talk about, or would it be better to like start sneaking around the house?
Whichever you prefer, you can do either.
Okay. Maybe I'll start by just like listening to different guest conversations.
You should see if you can get next to that halfling tiefling, or that green dragonborn merchanty guy. See what they might be chatting up.
Cool. Yeah. Let's
Or
do
other
that.
interesting
That's a
people.
great idea. Yeah. Now with a little tray and like just start.
Yeah. Just a second. I'm trying to find in my notes where I have stuff. Oh, I have so many notes. Trying to find. There she is. So you see that this tiefling halfling is speaking to a couple of humans, and she's clearly ex-military. You can tell in her bearing, not just from her military uniform that she's wearing, just the way that she holds herself. She has a sword scar on her left cheek that runs just sort of like down. And she's currently arguing with one of these men that is standing near her about the cost of something, and seems kind of irritable and is just saying, it's like, look, you gave me your measurements, I made you the jacket. If it doesn't fit, then you must have gained weight since I made you the jacket. That's not my problem.
Sassy.
And looking at the man's jacket, that is like, he is filling it out a bit more than it should be filled out, just a touch. You can tell now that you look at it, it makes sense that this woman made it, because although it seems to be very well made, it looks like it's cut like a military uniform. Like, that's the only thing she really knows how to make, are things that resemble military uniforms, and so...
Interesting. Like she could clothe an army.
Well, at least hopefully they get shoes too.
And as you pass by the Dragonborn merchant, you hear someone call him Kumari, the Green Dragonborn merchant, and he says, "Yes, I just came back from Mardue with a rather large shipment. I'll have to be delivering some of pardon me. Have to be returning soon to deliver more of the payment. They actually trust me enough that they gave me more of the goods than I was able to pay for, so I have to return in just a few days to pay for the rest of it, and then I will probably take a detour down into Gate after that to pick up some things that are a bit harder to get here in the Bound Lands." He's speaking to a couple of elves and a dwarf at the moment, and so those are the conversations you pick up on as you're passing by.
Interesting. So he got a large shipment that he brought here.
Yes.
Oh, my guy's going to make his way back to the common room.
Okay. To the Grand Foyer or the Great Hall?
He's just the Great Hall.
Okay. Yeah, that's where most of the party is going on right now. And Doggery has kind of been sticking close to Tamati through most of this, and has been just kind of mingling and making herself known, making herself seen, and she says that, if the lot of you or any one of you needs to go off and wander, I can probably cover for your absence. So if you want to go look around, I might be able to keep people's attention off of you for the most part.
Can't hear you, Chris.
Hey David, can I try something out?
Yes. What would you like to try?
Cool. So he said that there's a merchant there?
Yes, Kumari was the Dragonborn merchant.
A little bit?
What was that?
Could I try and talk to him a little?
Sure.
Okay. So... Okay, so... Yeah, so... Is it a guy or a girl?
It's
a guy,
male.
isn't it?
Yeah. Male Dragonborn.
Okay. Okay, cool. I'll go to him and say hello to him in Draconic. Just like, hello, how are you?
Okay. He looks at you with...
That's English.
He looks at you with respect upon hearing his language spoken and says, "Well met, stranger. My name is Kumari Gray. I'm a merchant," and he holds out his hand to shake.
Good to meet you, sir. I am Got my. What was the elf name you gave me for my cover last time?
What was
I'm
it?
covered by the conversation. I speak Draconic as well.
Yeah. I don't remember what the name was right now.
Why don't you write it down, man?
I was just looking through notes at the time. I should have written it down.
Oh, I was making fun of Chris.
Yeah. But really, I should have
Chris,
written it
just
down
go with
because
Kyle. That's all right. Nobody will know.
I'm Tim.
No, Kyle.
It's fine.
Superman.
Don't worry about it.
You talking about Superman, Russell?
Yes,
That's Kal-El.
Kal-El. Close enough. It's hard talking with these things on.
just like, yes, Superman's true name, Kyle.
The truth is out.
It's not Clark Kent, it's Kyle.
Anyway,
Your character would remember the name even if we don't, so you can.
cool. Hi, I'm Tim.
Some call me Tim.
You look to me to be a merchant.
I said, yes, I actually just told you that I was.
Oh. Well, I'm from the trading family over in the east, the Ehrenberg family. And I've been in the region lately, looking up some opportunities. It's very good to meet you.
Good to meet you too. What sort of
way,
opportunities are you searching for?
Just getting a general feel of the area.
Well,
I mean, it's
of course.
the Boundland epicenter of main routes to trade. So
True.
right now we're looking at spice trade, but
Yeah.
I'm looking for a good investment. But I was just wondering, I don't know many people in the area. What could you tell me about the noble family whose house this is?
The Wynnes? Well, honestly, my feelings about them ought not to be shared in mixed company. I'm not fond of them terribly, nor is anyone else. But they have not dealt fairly with me or with my colleagues in the past. They tend to short those of us on what they claimed they would pay us. And most of us have stopped doing business. They've had to go further and further out to find business in recent years.
The Wynne family. Oh, I actually heard that name prior. Another reason why I'm here is I'm guessing with a friend.
Salty hands.
Anyway, I'm talking with a friend, and he's been doing business in the area, but he's been losing a lot of money has been going missing from like the shipments and the projects. And I heard a rumor about the Wynnes and buying equipment that odd equipment and other things like that. But I've been trying to hammer down where that money's been going to. Have you heard any rumors of that, or?
Not in particular, although there, of course, the silly rumors that Cora Wynne is a werewolf or some such, and that she's been buying up things to control her lycanthropy or something to the effect. I don't believe any of it.
That's very odd. Well,
some of my colleagues
either way,
still dare to do business with her have continued to ship things. She buys a great deal more than her brothers do. Not sure what any of it is, though.
Are any of these friends here? If they'd be all right for me to talk to more of them, or
no, none.
You know where
none
a good
of them are
place
here, I'm
to
afraid.
meet? Okay.
They're...
Do you know I want to go and meet the Wynnes? It's always good to meet the nobles in the area, and give some charm.
You may consider it less good to meet them after you actually have, but I'm sure you'll find at least Galdrin and Tedric around here somewhere. They're probably glad-handing.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. It's very, very good to meet you.
Good to meet you as well. I hope to do business with you in the future.
Likewise.
And he gave you the descriptions of Tedric and Galdrin, the other two Wynne siblings, and you do see them sort of going around and shaking hands, and it looks like most of the people who they shake hands with really would rather be anywhere else on Earth right now than where they are.
For this part, can I grab what's your name? What's your character's name, Russell?
Sameas. I'm going to follow you over there because I can introduce
wait, your name's Sameas?
Sameas.
Okay. Is it if we go talk to one of them, or do we
Yeah.
do something else first?
That's just fine. So I'll take you over and I'll introduce you to them.
And you,
Once we find them. My perception rolls have been pretty bad.
That's a dog!
Dang it!
You know what? I wasn't gonna.
This is a cat.
I wasn't gonna make you roll to find them until you said that. Roll now. Now you have to roll.
Oh, come on!
He had a 15 perception.
Just a second. Okay, my highest is a 19. That was like 6 dice. They wouldn't let me roll that fast.
Yep.
My first roll was a 2. My perception is +5. So I got a 7, okay?
Okay.
But the 19, Daniel saw the 19.
Such pretty rude.
Alright, so.
Lots of people.
They keep it so shiny here.
Hey, Chris, there's this dog you wanted to talk to. It's the windy dog.
So.
Should I roll perception?
Yes.
No, like at this point, it is committed that Sameas leads you to the oldest dwarf you have ever seen in your life.
No!
Clearly a woman. Clearly a woman. Wrong species, wrong sex, wrong everything. And introduces you and says, I believe this is Tedric Wynne.
No! You're evil.
And the
Can I roll again?
not right now, you can't. This elderly dwarf woman kind of just obliviously reaches out and shakes your hand and says, "Nice to meet you, dear." Like now she thinks you're Tedric Wynne because she misunderstood the conversation.
Yeah, she's as oblivious as me.
Oh, great.
I have to say, thank you so much for coming to the party. Enjoy the night.
Thank
Chris,
you,
you might want to find them and help me introduce you.
Help me introduce you.
Did I roll perception?
Don't roll.
No,
just go look for them.
You were given the description. You're able to find them without having to roll. So you find the
lady.
It was a short circuit, so don't worry.
You're able to find.
Art waiting to be drawn, Shara.
What?
That is art waiting to be drawn.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So you're able to find the real Tedric Wynne at this point.
Okay.
And
Without my help. Yeah, like that part. I need a drink before I start talking to this guy.
I don't think that's gonna help him.
It's water. See? It's water.
Actually, getting drunk might help in this case.
I can't get drunk, okay?
You're an observant drunk.
I'd have to have a
shame he's a
program.
robot.
Did you enable the protocol?
Let's see. So I go up to him and say, "Are you Tedric Wynne?" Assuming that's the right guy we found.
Yeah, and he looks like he's not very happy to be here. He, like himself, he seems pretty irritable, and he says, "Yes, that's me."
Well, my friend here was looking to do some trading in the area, and he's trying to get a feel for the area. I want to introduce you to him.
And he.
This is my friend. Which one is he? Well, no, the other name. I need the other name. It's not here.
Jassie's fake name.
Yeah.
Jassie's fake name.
Yeah.
Yes. This is Jassie's fake name.
Fake name.
Call L.
This is my friend Voldemort Johnson.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, Johnson.
Fort Johnson. Oh man.
Hello, sir. I'm Theodorn. You have a beautiful house. Thank you so much for hosting this party tonight.
Fine.
You don't seem well. What's the issue?
The issue is that I don't like people, and I especially don't like people who wander up to me and start introducing themselves to me at random. That's supposed to be my opportunity to take. If I'm going to speak to you, I'll speak first. But since we're here already, what would you like?
Well, we're just we're from the east. This is my patron, Samus. He's of noble birth, but
Confusing, isn't it?
Tedric gives you an odd look at the word birth and looks Saeus up and down, but just kind of lets it go.
I can interpret that how, but
I like being Alfonso. It's really good. With the mustache and the eyepiece, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's epic.
Fantastic.
I saw that, and I was looking for Warforged images, and that came up in Google Images. I was like, yes!
I love the look. I could keep that look.
It is decided.
like
This
you've
is Alphonse with the mustache and the
you've basically just like painted a mustache on your face.
No, it's
Anyway,
it's metal shaving, you know. So I can, curl it and things like
yes.
it's rust.
No, I keep it black. I don't want red in my hair.
It's like those old kids' toys that had the little magnetic shavings that you did hairstyles on a cartoon character with.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Yes, but we're looking to start trade routes through the area, and we've heard that you are essentially the most important family in the region. And before we get started, we would just like to know if there's ever anything we could do, if there's anything we could ever help invest in, to get a good footing with you and your family, especially with my patron Samus.
Sameus. Sameus.
Sameus.
Just say fake name.
Fake name.
With my
Just
patron
call me
Zero
Master
Suit
of Roll.
Samus.
Okay. Samus. Okay, I'll be a girl then, I guess. It's easier for everybody else, right?
And you can bring your musket.
Ooh. In my arm. Sorry, wrong hand. In my arm.
He says, well, we would welcome the business. And, he says, let me give you my card. We'll be in touch if we ever need anything from you. And he
Thank you very much, sir.
pulls out a business card and hands it to you. And then, without saying another word, he just walks away.
Okay.
Like he's done with this conversation.
Not very concerned with being a good host.
Not a very pleasant person.
I've never met nobles like them. I doubt they're of high birth.
That's a dwarf, Russell.
Lovely.
What I was hoping.
You know what? Let's not go with the dice roll on that one. That was just Daniel's program doesn't like me. So yeah.
Basically, what I was hoping to do is to talk to one of the noble families and see if Russell and I could like go with them to their study to discuss like trading and stuff.
Yeah.
They're not interested right now.
Yeah,
Especially if
it's unlikely. It's unlikely that in this setting you'd be able to get them away.
Okay.
They're probably going to be too busy. In Galdrin's case, at least, glad-handing with all of the women in a way that makes them very uncomfortable, from what you can see. And in Tedric's case, glad-handing with everyone in the least glad way possible. More like angry-handing, really.
Wait, so let's go to the other brother then, Chris.
Okay. So wait, there's two brothers, noble brothers?
I thought so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
the other one is. It started with a G.
Galdrin.
Oh, okay. Can we find him without rolling dice, please?
Yes, you can. And he is he's hitting on a woman as you come up to him in a way that clearly makes her uncomfortable, like she doesn't want to be there. And as you come up, she kind of gives you a pleading look, like, you know, get me out of this sort of thing. Like...
Well, okay. Let's see. So I'd walk up to her in a friendly way. I don't know how to say that. And say, "Oh, I'm glad I found you. I've been looking all over for you." And who is this that you're talking with?
She gives you a very grateful look and says, "This is Galdrin Wynne, and like one of our
Galdrin
hosts."
Wynne, I was looking for you. I was hoping to get a minute of your time, probably tomorrow, to talk with you. My friend wants to set up a trade route in this area, and he wanted to get your blessing to do so.
And Galdrin looks at you sort of like in a distracted way. He's not entirely clear what's happening right now, but while he is sort of hemming and hawing about this, the woman like gives you a grateful look and slips away. And Galdrin, realizing after a moment that she's gone, says, "Yes, I suppose we could set up a time that we could speak about such things. I'm sure that it would be a good thing that would be welcomed for us to have some more trade partners. We've had some difficulty in keeping trade partners. They just simply won't be honest with us."
Well, that is a very much shame, sir.
Yes, so we'll meet you sometime after breakfast tomorrow.
He says,
Is
"Yes,
that good for you?"
That sounds excellent. Thank you."
All right. We'll see you then.
Good. Excuse me. And he goes like looking around for the woman that he was speaking to, just kind of like, where'd she go? You know?
I was hoping to hit on her. Darn.
I got all buffed up. Come on.
Look at my armor game.
Shara, you said that, and I'm like, I got all buffed up.
So that's interesting that he said that their trade partners aren't being honest with them, but weren't like other people like missing money.
Yeah,
so
the trade partners are saying that they're not being
right. The
fair
trade
to
partners.
And it's all about
saying
contracts.
It's 50,
so
and
if they're doing verbal contracts, then that's the issue.
Well, no, but it's like if the people they're working with are saying we're missing our fair treatment, and the brother is saying we're missing our fair treatment, I bet it's Sister Dear that's cutting the hole in the middle.
It's true. She has been doing a lot of shifty trading. So that's where we talk with the brother tomorrow. And since he knows we'll talk with other people, and it's easy enough to bring up these issues.
But we're in the mansion. We must find us.
No.
It's there, the fox.
It's down in the basement if you want to go there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's all we're gonna get through doing that. So we move on, I guess.
Okay.
Unless you can think of anything else, Russell.
Honestly, it'd be best to leave the party. It would be nice to sneak away to look in the basement, but the only person that could really get away with doing that would be Mouse, if she had a reason to go down there.
Yeah.
I can't really look down in the basement now because I've already met both brothers.
Is it like
so I
roped
can't-
off or something? Those basement stairs?
No, they're not roped off, and the grand foyer.
But you were like, no.
Yeah, the grand foyer has been. It was just pretty busy at the time. People weren't going down there, but like.
Oh, okay.
It's filled. The Great Hall is filled more, and the Grand Foyer has kind of emptied a little bit. There's still a few people mingling out there, but it would be a little easier to slip down or to slip off to any of the areas upstairs if you wanted to look around up there as well.
Yeah. I'd like to do that. I'd like to poke into these non-bathroom balcony.
I think I'm
doors.
gonna follow Shara.
Okay.
Cool. So do you want to take the left or the right? Or do we want to go together?
Yeah, let's go together.
Okay.
Safety in numbers.
Yeah.
Something explodes, we can clear the brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're
One of us can make a good roll and save the other one.
yeah there are two doors off to the left side and two doors to the right. So.
Right. So let's start going right.
Okay. To the right.
The first door on the right.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying. Would that be to the right or the left of the bathrooms? They're like the bathrooms are off from an angle from the Great Hall, and so between the bathrooms and the Great Hall is the left passage on this side, and then the other one is on the other side, more towards the front of the building.
Up on the balcony?
Yes.
If I'm walking towards the right, whichever one's first.
Yeah, they're about equal from having come up to the balcony, but if you're coming out of the Great Hall, the first one, that it would be to your left as you come out,
Okay.
and it would be right there if you want to go that way.
Okay, yes. Yes.
All right, so
Good
you
clarification.
you find yourself in a corridor that leads straight ahead. There's a door up that way on your left, and it branches to the right as well, closer. And there's another door directly in front of you that's open to the Great Hall.
Okay. Well, let's see what's in that door down onto the left.
Okay. Let me find it in my notes. All right, you step into a gallery that's full of art and statues.
Cool.
Like most of these things are pretty common reproductions.
Make sure they aren't us.
What?
I say make sure the statues aren't us again.
Yeah, no,
Sadie's
these...
like, statues, is it me?
Yeah. These statues are not you. Most of the things in here are reproductions of pretty famous works that have been purchased and hung up, but there's one particularly notable piece that you believe, looking at it, is probably an original. It's involves a gold and a red dragon wrestling in flight, breathing swirls of fire that light a temple below them. And there's a large rose window on the front of the temple, which make a perception check, both of you.
Okay.
Um, 23.
Oh, no. Whoops.
Okay, well,
I
you
tried to
definitely.
just... Okay, 23. Take that.
Yeah. So you notice, as you look a little closer at the rose window, that the stained glass pattern of this rose window is the seal of the Aegis.
Oh.
You recognize it from the coin that you got from Diego Dela.
Do I have that coin with me?
You do.
Or did I leave it? Okay.
Compare it.
So, Zephine, come and look at this. And I show her the map.
Wow, where did you get that? Because or had I been brought up to speed on all of that on the walk here?
No.
They probably hadn't told you about that, so I guess I shouldn't have had you roll perception anyway, because you wouldn't have known what you were looking for. But,
Right, it's like, oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah.
This is cool. Yeah.
It's important. I know it is.
I picked up the seal from the guy that was at the temple where we woke up. I think we told you about that on our way here.
I remember that.
When he disappeared, he left behind his cloak and left this seal.
Interesting.
And we don't know much about it, other than it has to do with this weird evil society, I guess, from the little information that I was able to get out of Theor. But yeah.
Interesting. And now we see that this red and gold dragon over it. Interesting. And so she got a really good perception. There's not anything else weird about the painting. There's not like a safe behind it or something.
No, there's nothing concealed around it. You do see the plate that tells you the name of the painting, says it's called The Duel of Atheritis, and it's by an orc artist named Dothris Ko. And it is dated 2688 of the Fourth Age of Wisdom, which is about 1500 years ago. This is a very old painting.
Wow. Oh.
The Duel of what now?
Atheritis.
Atheritis?
Atheritus.
U.S. And what's the name of the painter, I guess?
Dothris Ko. It's DATHRUSKHO.
Okay.
Cool. Ooh. We found a clue. We don't know what it means, but we found it.
And that's about all that there is of interest in the gallery. A lot of the other works of art here are honestly kind of kitschy and tacky when they are like not something very famous. If it's either a reproduction of something very famous, it's tacky, or it's this. And so
okay. All right. Well, so
can
let's
Can I do an Arcana check to make sure that like none of the statues are enchanted or anything?
Sure.
I gotta go back to my page. That's where all my stuff is. Arcana?
Yeah.
Okay. That would be a 10.
Yeah, you don't get the impression that there's anything magical in this room. So.
Okay. Where to next?
and there weren't any other doors in that corridor except for into the Great Hall, right?
There was a branch. There was a branch off to the right when you first came in.
Let's see where that branch in this corridor goes.
Sounds good.
Okay, as you turn off into the branch, on your left there is a door, and then further up you see that the corridor curves to the left entirely. The whole corridor takes a left turn up further.
Okay. What's behind the door on the left?
Can we check the door first for traps?
Oh, you're so smart.
Yeah, you can do that. Just roll perception.
Okay. I don't have anything to unlock it with, but better safe than sorry. 24?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you don't get the sense that there's anything dangerous attached to the door or anything like that. No traps. It's safe to go in.
Okay.
All right.
Let's
check it
go
out.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what appears to be a reading room. It's a large room with a huge fireplace along one wall, a number of plush chairs. It's lit intimately but brightly enough that you could read, with fine rugs on the floor. A couple of tables with books left on them here and there.
Okay.
Are there any is there like a wall of books? Like a big bookshelf?
It's not a library. It's just a room for reading. It's furnished lavishly as you would expect in a mansion, but there's just not a lot of interest in it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's go check out what's around the curve in the corridor.
Okay. The corridor turns to the left and then back to the right to go essentially straight. And you can see from here all the way down to the far end of this wing of the house. You see a window on the far wall. And on each side there are 4 doors. So there are 8 doors total here.
Whoa. Okay.
Where you're standing right now is probably right above the library, you would estimate.
Wow.
So,
okay. It is a mansion, so it's going to be like door heaven.
Yeah, there are a lot of rooms.
Look for the big doors.
Can we do any kind of check to see if there's been traffic in and out of any of these rooms recently?
There's not a lot of ways that you'd be able to tell that, really. It's not like
especially probably because they have servants, like cleaning and stuff.
So, like, you wouldn't really be able to tell in most cases.
Okay. Well, let's just... I think you made a good point about checking for traps. Can we just do a general trap check down the hall and then just kind of peek in the doors? Just kind of rapid fire.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, yeah.
Do we want to do that?
You'd be pretty surprised if you discovered any traps here, because this is just part of the mansion, and if they left traps here, they might, like, kill their servants or that sort of thing. So.
Right. Yeah. Party goers.
So,
okay.
All in a day's work.
Yeah, it doesn't...
Well, let's just go check the doors then. Okay. Starting on the left.
Okay.
That's
the first door on the left is a room of moderate size with a table and chandeliers of the sort that is typically used by senior women of the household. Might occasionally be used as sort of a more private dining hall by the siblings. It doesn't look like it gets a lot of use. It's what fancy rich people would call a solar. And so...
Okay, next door.
Left 2.
Next door on the left is a studio used for painting and writing. You see some easels here with some pretty comical paintings that as you look at them, you can see they are signed with the name of Wynne, who apparently considers himself something of an artist. His work does not bear out that delusion. There is there's an easel with a half-completed, sort of like Mona Lisa style portrait of the woman he was talking to out in, like, you guys might not have known this.
She's a stalker!
But there's like sort of a half-completed Mona Lisa style portrait of the woman. You can barely recognize her. She looks like she's at least part goblin in this painting, because Wynne is not a great artist. But
oh my
so are there any writings, or you said it's for writing too, or is this like any...
There is also a writing desk, but it doesn't look like it's used very much. There's there are some droplets of paint on it from where Wynne has left his easels sitting there without bothering to clean it up or put something down, but not really anything other than that.
Okay, well, take that in, go into the next room.
Okay, the next...
Third on the left.
Yeah. The next room is a very, very fussy red velvet bedroom. Red velvet everywhere. There are no less than 3 wardrobes, all filled with the same sort of frilly, overdone clothing that you saw Wynne wearing out in the Great Hall. So.
Oh dear.
Red velvet.
The red velvet man.
Red velvet everywhere. Everything is red velvet. There's like a footlocker by the bed that is actually completely coated in red velvet. There's...
Oh my gosh. This guy.
I'm like getting chills right No,
Yeah, it's like
Creepy.
yeah.
yeah. I'm glad that the guys went and talked to
Yeah.
him because I'm not excited to do that.
I think we would have been in trouble.
No, you would have got more information than us.
That's true. We might
Just
have.
saying.
but
That's true.
we also would have gotten into more trouble.
If he finds you in his room, just start complimenting the clothes, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know
Let's
if
go
we
to-
will. Don't
Let's
know
go
if we
to
will.
room 4.
Yeah.
Let's just
Move on real quick.
Yeah, the
Don't mind the throw up over there. That wasn't me.
yeah. Yeah, the next room
Not
is
bothering
the last room on this
me
side.
out or anything.
Yeah. Last room on this side, and it's a relatively unadorned, at least by noble standards, room that is probably like a guest bedroom. There's not a lot to see here, just a bed, a couple of chairs, basic stuff.
Okay.
Can I check the floor for like a secret passage?
Yeah, you could look around. You are on the second floor, so a secret passage would lead you down into the room below you, if there was one.
Never mind.
So you're not sure what rooms are below you. You'd like at least Zafine would know that whatever rooms are below you would be in the rooms past the library where you saw the corridor through the glass door and turned back.
Right.
But other than that, you don't know what's down there. But you don't suspect there would be a secret passage in this spare bedroom to the room below it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll cross the hall and go to the end door on the right.
Make our way back.
So this one actually, you can see there's a note hanging on the door that says like basically just telling in very curt terms, like telling the servants not to come in. It's it's like servants keep out with 3 exclamation points and underlines under it. And
sounds like a perfect place to go.
yeah, you see an incredibly messy bedroom with men's clothing lying everywhere, dirty dishes that someone hasn't seen fit to return to the servants for cleaning, some of which are located on a metal serving tray that is just left on the floor. And yeah, it's a huge mess in here.
How much you want to bet that's Tetric's room?
I was gonna say that's Tedric's room for sure.
Got the grumpy slob and gross man.
The red velvet man. Ugh. You think he's got red velvet pants to wear in his red velvet room?
Probably wearing red velvet pants right now.
He's probably wearing red velvet underwear from what, like everything you've gathered about this man.
That's a little...
All right.
Okay, it's probably stinking there. Close it. Go to the next one.
All right, so
Smells like mold.
Yeah, the next room is another bedroom, surprisingly simple for a noble. It contains a bed, a work desk that is littered with like small gears and other clockwork pieces, that sort of thing. And there's actually little else here. It would appear she doesn't spend a lot of time in here.
Yeah, this
Like-
is Cora's room.
Yeah.
That would be interesting to see what Timaeus would think of this clockwork if he could like decipher what she was doing or something. But yeah. Okay.
If you'd like me to, I can take a look at it. You just have to come get me.
Can I?
There's not enough here
like
that you.
perception around.
Yeah, there's not enough here that you suspect he'd really be able to get anything out of these pieces. It's just a few like gears and that sort of thing they don't seem to have any purpose. There are only 3
Just
or
kinda
4 of them
cluttery.
sitting here. Yeah, it's just like she tinkers with stuff here, and sometimes.
Okay.
And what were you saying, Sadie?
Okay.
I was gonna like kind of perception around the walls and check if there was anything of interest, or like an investigation check along the walls.
Yeah, the walls are very bare. There isn't really anywhere that you'd be able to hide anything. In fact, most of the like fancy wallpaper and things like that they have in the other rooms, she is torn down. So the walls are pretty bare. So
Okay.
probably
Okay.
not anywhere to hide anything.
We
The
shall
next-
on then.
On to the next, going back out the hall.
The next room has, you recognize this is a fainting room where basically ladies in corsets come to faint because they have drawn their corsets too tight or whatever, and that
Oh
sort
my
of thing.
goodness.
And they're fainting couches here. There's a fireplace with fire screens between it and the couches to prevent the heat from melting the ladies' makeup. So, like,
Oh my goodness.
you laugh at this. This is an
The
actual
fainting room.
thing that mansions in the Victorian era had.
yeah.
Like,
I- That's
They-
the laughable thing, that
yeah,
it was
they
real.
Had, they had dedicated fainting rooms.
Yeah. Sounds very historically accurate, unfortunately. Okay, painting room, check. Last
Right.
room on the right. Or first room on the right, whichever you prefer.
Yeah. So the last room
The
that
eighth
you have
door.
not checked, yes. The last room you haven't checked, you step into and you see this room is filled with beautifully crafted musical instruments, including various stringed, wind, brass instruments hanging from wall mounts. There's a piano, there's a harp, there are various drums standing in the room. You see a very,
Any
very...
ukuleles?
There is a very fancy ukulele. I was just saying that, actually.
We'll have to tell Tamati.
It's a very fine dark wood ukulele with gold inlays on it. And so you and on the opposite side of the room from where you entered, you see a door that you imagine would be the door that leads back out to the balcony. The other one you didn't take.
Like on the hall side?
The other one you didn't take when you were on the balcony. It would lead out to the other side of the bathrooms.
Oh, I see. That it just looped around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. One more door down. Okay, well, let's head back out all that corridor back to where we started on the foyer side of the balcony.
Okay.
And then we have the two doors on the right, correct?
Yeah, the two doors on the other side, yes.
Yeah. So let's check out that first left one.
Yep.
As long as
Okay.
it's not too conspicuous.
Because coming back, it would be on the left. Right.
Yeah, so you step into carefully because there are a few people milling about out here and you don't want to be noticed, but you step into a large room with wide balconies hanging out. They're glass doors, but they hang out over the outside of the house, and you see that there are bookshelves here with books of astronomy and sky divination magic and various legends of sorts lining the walls. There are a few telescopes by the windows and tables in the center with star charts on them. This is an observatory.
Observatory, cool. Let's. I
There-
should check.
Yeah, I was
here,
gonna say, is there anything around that like would suggest that they were looking for something specific?
Yeah, like a series of study or something.
It looks like they're just kind of, there are books open here and there to different constellations and that sort of thing, but it doesn't seem like they were looking for anything specific. It's just, they're just hobbyists. Whoever uses this room are probably hobbyists.
Just rich person pastime.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. All right. Well, let's check that second door on the left in the foyer balcony.
Okay. This door leads into what is clearly a shrine for worship. There are pews in the back wall. Facing the outside of the building is almost entirely made up of a huge, intricate stained glass window, actually depicting Bahamut, the dragon god of good. You don't imagine that any of the current Wynns are probably big on Bahamut, but
Yeah?
whoever built the place, apparently.
Yeah,
probably.
that sounds weird.
Yeah. Whichever
It's a little
one of
dusty
the
in there.
whichever member of the family built the place probably was a worshiper of Bahamut, and therefore probably a better person than you were getting the impression of his legacy, his or her legacy. The shrine itself.
I think somebody said that the grandfather was a good person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were told about Turner Wynne, the grandfather who built the place, so you actually know that. Yeah, so Turner Wynne was the man who built the place. And the shrine, it's the sort of shrine that can be used for the worship of any deity, but it was obviously built with Bahamut in mind. You can tell from the giant stained glass window of Bahamut.
So what kind of
is there any?
like is that? Go ahead. Okay,
Oh.
I was just gonna ask if like you could worship any deity there. Would that be a place where you would like do any sort of magical type things, or is that just like personal worship kind of things?
It'd just be personal worship. Generally, it would be a place that people would have if they ever have like services for visitors. They'd be held here. That sort of thing. It's just a chapel, kind of like a private chapel that they have in their house.
Okay.
I was gonna say, is there anything like suspicious, for lack of a better word? Anything that would suggest that there is like some not so good
because
deities being worshipped here?
Because Cora had been talking to the guy at the chapel, and she was all,
yeah,
how do I control you?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So is there any like signs that something kind of off has been going
or like
on?
experimentation or
Yeah.
No, it's this room is pretty tidily kept, and so even if there were any such thing going on in here, the servants probably would have cleaned up after it, or she would have hidden it if she was doing something herself that she didn't want people to see.
Which makes sense. I mean, if we're just guests and we can mosey on in here, she probably wouldn't keep her more secrety things in this room.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So that's the whole of the second floor. You've seen everything up there.
Cleared.
I think we're gonna have to make our way downstairs.
Yeah, I think going downstairs is a good idea.
How many floors are there?
So,
there are 2 floors above ground, and there's the basement floor. And you've seen a solid chunk between a lot of you of the first floor. There was that section over past the library that you didn't visit. A few rooms that way. And there are a couple of rooms over on the other side of the library that you haven't seen. There are a lot of servants' chambers over there, but there may be other things. You're not sure. Mouse at least has seen the servants' supply room. You saw the butler go into the butler's pantry, which isn't actually so much a pantry as it is a place where the house butler keeps his records and that sort of thing, of like the kitchen inventory. And you've seen a dining hall.
The butler's office.
Basically, yeah. You've seen a dining hall and the kitchen and the scullery, and you know that there are stairs down to the larder in the basement from the kitchen. But there are a couple of rooms between the servants' supply room and the library that none of you have checked out, and then there are the rooms on the other side of the library that none of you have checked out.
So while we're going down the stairs, I want to see if I can see Tamati anywhere convenient.
I'm on the dance floor, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so
try not to be too conspicuous.
So I'm
Says
gonna
the 8-foot tall man dancing in the ballroom.
Yeah, I gotta fit in somehow.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, while we're here, just quick run out to Tamati and be like, "Hey, Tamati, up on the balcony down the hall in this X room, it's a music room. And since you're such a music lover, you should go check that out. It could be pretty interesting." It was some beautiful work in there.
I might just have to go.
Drop that off. And then I go back to Rin, and I tell her about this other hallway that I said we should go check that out.
Okay.
Awesome.
Which hallway? The one past the
We should do that.
library, or?
Yeah, the one with the glass window that I saw in passing.
And then we
Okay.
should probably regroup.
Yeah. Or
I'm gonna sneak away and head up the stairs.
As much as we can.
Okay.
yeah, does Mouse want to do some exploring since we just went through 8+ rooms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she would probably go to areas that look like only servants could get access to, because she knew that you guys would be able to access other things. So
Yeah.
maybe the basement.
Yeah, probably getting into the basement through the larder is the way that would garner the least attention, because there are servants going up and down from the larder all the time.
So yeah, she would probably check around to see if anybody else want to go with her. But do you think, like, are like only servants going down, or like does this ever take down visitors?
Only servants are going down there.
Okay. So off she goes.
Yeah.
Yay!
So you head down. Yeah, you head down to the larder. This is a big cool room that is used for storage of perishable goods that are used in the kitchen, that sort of thing. There is, as you come down, there's a door straight ahead of you, and then there's another door off to the left. The door off to your left is a double door that's wider.
Okay, so let's go there first.
Okay. You step into a very large room full of racks of bottles. This is the wine cellar. There are some very, very fine vintages here. There's some that you've actually probably dealt with on the black market, because they're hard to get your hands on. And so in your criminal dealings, you may have seen some of these. There's a 4103 Haveline, which is a very fine vintage that is over 100 years old, was aged very carefully. And you happen to know that one bottle of this can fetch over 5,000 gold at auction.
I'm taking it.
Yeah. You also suspect that if it went missing, someone would get in very serious trouble.
Not Mouse. Why would Mouse get?
Not the new employee.
It's never the new one.
Yeah.
That's who gets blamed every time. It's always the older one that wants to sip.
Yeah, I don't think Mouse would like. She'd be tempted to grab it on her way out, but not right now because she didn't want to carry it the whole time.
Yeah.
Now, me, I'd probably grab 5 bottles. So I have a little, pocket.
Yeah. And
Under your desk.
on the opposite side from where you came in, the wine cellar also has another door.
Okay, so let's go through there.
I didn't cut it.
What now?
Huh? No, I think.
I was asking Heidi what she said, but
Oh, okay.
Fine. So I should probably go through that door just to.
okay. This door takes you out into a corridor. On your right, you can see the stairs that lead up to the grand foyer, and down a little ways past. There's one door on your right and one on your left before you reach those stairs, and the corridor branches off to the right at the foot of those stairs, and straight ahead of you as you come out of the wine cellar, there is a corridor down which you see 3 doors on either side and 1 door straight ahead.
Look at this.
Definitely straight ahead first.
So do I need to like go through one, like could you just like kind of just go in each one, just
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, she'd be looking for like she'd be looking for that guy that got missing, but also for just anything like being a werewolf,
Yeah.
Or just read out of place and read documents.
Yeah. So which door do you want to check first? The first door on your left or the first door on your right?
I should probably start on the left and then just go in.
Pick number 3, my lord.
Okay. We'll just kind of do the same thing we did with Zafine and Rin, where we just kind of have you duck into each room and look around as you go around. The first room and the second room you don't spend a lot of time in. You can tell these are just sleeping and living quarters used by the servants that actually live in the mansion. They're pretty basic. There's nobody in here right now. They're just servants' quarters. The next room on that side is a storage room that mostly just has boxes of like old papers and logs, children's toys, various odds and ends. And not really anything of any great interest. The logs that are kept in here all seem to be probably 20 or 30 years old, so they wouldn't really apply to anything you're looking for right now. The next room, which was the room straight at the end of the hall, is an armory. This is a very large room. It's full of weaponry and armor, mostly locked in cabinets. It all looks pretty valuable and well crafted from what you can see. Make a perception check for me real quick.
Roll good, Heidi.
Oh, there's some good in this room.
Well, she said armory, right?
Oh, yeah.
In
Can I go down there?
20 sided, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's loading.
11.
Um,
Yeah, that's your
on the
perception.
dice, and then which one do I need to open?
Perception. Let's see. So she rolled 11. She has +3.
Okay.
So 14.
All right. So you notice in the far left corner, you see that there is a pretty well disguised secret door in the wall.
Secret door!
Secret tunnel.
Is this inside of a room?
Yes.
Chris, you look lovely. What's up?
Well, we close the door behind her so that someone would have to open it to hear first.
Yeah.
There's your dwarf party.
Nice to meet you, dearie.
Love you too, Shara. Love you too. I guess that's what I get for playing with artists.
Yep. There will be art.
Yes.
So
I'm on the
you,
receiving end, though.
huh?
Who did the art that's like in the background of the video, behind the video?
David did, well, David kind of set up everybody's. Shara made her own image. for it,
Yeah,
though.
I
And he
found
kind of-
art, found and edited art for everybody else to make it look as much like you guys as I could make it. And so,
Pretty awesome.
cool. Okay, sorry. So
yeah,
Sorry,
Lord.
armory?
Yeah,
Something
you-
was there?
yeah. You
Armory?
close the door
Like
to
your
the
door,
armory
my
like
behind
gun,
you.
right?
Nathan.
Yeah. So the secret door is unlocked. It doesn't even have a lock mechanism on it. It just relies on being well disguised to not have people notice it. But you're used to looking for this sort of thing. And it just leads directly into a staircase that goes up, and at the top is a trap door that just leads out to the front grounds. You just kind of peek open and see the grounds outside where you came in, and you know this sort of thing is probably essentially used in case the armory is under siege and the guardsmen need to get out to the grounds so that they can protect the mansion. That's the...
Hi, Sister Edwards. Yes.
Yeah.
Got everybody in.
Yeah, ready headphones? Hello, everyone.
Hello.
You should put so you can hear. That's okay.
Yeah, so
Bye.
yeah, so you pretty much recognize that this he's great.
I just got back from Utah, so
Oh yeah.
Oh, fun.
I love your parents, Daniel.
yeah, they're good people.
They're
Yeah,
I love
so you're pretty much, you can tell that this is just sort of like an emergency exit so that the guardsmen can get out with weapons if they need to.
Take the wine and run.
But really, though.
But okay, so you should like remember that area. So if we ever need to sneak back in there, like is it no way back in there if you weren't from the inside?
Yeah, it's
Like, can we like?
Yeah, is it unlocked from the outside?
yeah, you
Or could you
can-
like leave your credit card in the door or something?
yeah, it,
Because I have lost credit cards.
What's a credit card?
It's a magic device that allows you to purchase things on credit.
They
It's
never
like
have
a
to
tab
worry
in a
about-
bar.
What's credit?
like, oh, see, in this
Your
world we
tab
just
at
call
the
those rich
bar.
parents.
In the future and not people.
You call them what?
Rich parents.
Sorry.
I still call them that sometimes.
Just saying. We like sneak 2 or 3 bottles, hide it outside. After we're done with this whole adventure, you know, just pick them up. 150,000
Yeah, this
gold. Just saying.
this trapdoor is kind of tucked in between some bushes and that sort of thing, so it's not immediately obvious.
Is it unlocked from
It-
the outside?
Yeah, if you know it's there, you can open it, but it's pretty well disguised, so most people wouldn't think to look for it there. But you could get in
But
from the
now
outside.
Mouse knows where it is.
Yeah.
Mwah. Cool.
So.
Is there anything like suspicious looking inside of the path? Like anyone, like that someone could hide something in there?
I didn't
In the-
catch the first half of that, sorry.
It's like the where you go into the secret passageway. Is there anything looks like someone could stow something away? You know, like hide something in there.
Not really. It's pretty much just a spiral staircase with no extra space. If you wanted to hide something in here, you could leave it on one of the upper steps or something, but
So I could like go grab that wine and stick it in there and then back it.
if you wanted to, you could, yes.
Probably didn't kill them all anyway.
Weighing the options.
Do it.
You do realize that that wine is basically tagged and labeled. You can't sell it unless you do it on the black market, and these people are the black market, so just giving you information.
Waves.
Yeah.
Pass her waves.
We have a thief and a charlatan, so I think we can.
Or we can just drink it.
Yeah.
There we
Go
go.
find
Happy
Tamati.
birthday, Tamati!
He's getting an awesome new ukulele.
Yeah.
It'll be a party.
Far as the distance between the is this between it's like off of the place with all the wine? Is this room?
Yeah, basically it is the opposite side of the corridor. It's
Maybe she'll
It's,
come back. Like
You
I
know
don't
it's
want it
here.
to-
It's not going anywhere.
It's a fun talk.
yeah. Well, she'll just come back.
Yeah.
Because like,
Okay.
if she was to get caught with it, then it would take it would make it hard for her to like finish. what she was-
USA.
yeah.
Just ear tag that to do for later.
Yeah.
Steel line. Okay.
Yeah.
Steal the line, side quest.
Yeah, it's marked in your quest
You guys
journal.
are making this difficult to be a noble.
It's just a title.
So yeah, you
I have paperwork.
We'll probably continue on to some of the other rooms.
okay? So the next room on the other side of the hall now is another storage room, again with nothing particularly interesting stored in it. It's a little more bare than the other one, doesn't have as much stuff in it. The next two doors both lead into a servant's hall that's used by the servants when they're not on duty. There are a couple of servants kind of just chilling out in here right now on break, and they don't really take any particular notice of you because you're dressed in servant's clothing, and so they just assume you're here to take a break.
Cool. Could she talk to them?
Yeah, you can talk to them if you want. There are only a couple of people in here. There's one older male servant and one female servant, probably in her early 30s or so.
So she'd just probably ask, like, "Oh, are you permanent staff or temporary staff?"
Yeah, the older man says that he's temporary staff, and the younger woman says that she's permanent. She lives in the servants' quarters across the hall and works here regularly, just as cleaning business and that sort of thing.
So she'd ask, like, "How do you like it? Like, do they treat you very well? Do you ever feel unsafe, or does it feel like a pretty good working environment? Like, from the perspective of, do I want to become, you know?"
And she says,
right, investigating this.
Yeah, she says, if you're looking for a job, I think you'd probably be better off elsewhere. The Wynnes don't pay very well, and Galdrin is always giving me strange looks whenever I walk past, and Tedric doesn't really speak to any of us at all except when he yells at us that he wants something, and Cora doesn't really interact with most of us at all. She just kind of disappears off into her study or whatever. And
where is her study? We saw her room.
Yeah, because, like, it'd be nice to have a steady job, like not a temporary one anymore, but I've heard rumors about things like that there's crazy things going on here.
Yeah, she shrugs and says, honestly, I don't know what's going on with them. There's definitely something going on with them. There's, like, you know, but what one thing or another going on with them. Galdrin is always trying to basically creep on every woman he sees, and
yeah, universal.
Anywhere I shouldn't go to avoid that guy?
What?
Anywhere I shouldn't go to avoid that guy in order to avoid that guy?
And she just says, if you see him coming, just, I don't know, duck into a closet.
Cool.
Avoid at all costs.
Yeah, we're not good at it.
Yeah, they both excuse themselves. They leave to return to their shifts now. So
then Mouse continues to look at other rooms.
okay. So as you leave the servants' hall, you turn off, and you're facing, at this point, the stairs that lead up to the grand foyer. There's a door on your right and a door on your left.
So she starts out with the one on the left and then goes to the one on the right.
Okay. The one on the left is a room full of very fine but unused furniture. This is what the nobles would call a lumber room, where they basically just put the extra furniture that they bought because they liked but didn't have a place to put it, and are just figuring they'll put it if they ever wear out some of their other nice things. And,
that's our garage.
Yeah. It's a lot of big heavy things, couches, one or two of which are red velvet, and so
that's gross. That's just gross.
Is there like a theme or?
Okay, I'm shooting this guy at some point. Okay.
And
Can he sneak in on somebody so I can shoot him and call self-defense?
Me just
Ooh, a duel. I can do a duel. There we go.
If Red Velvet sits on red, would that be like a flannel board where nothing moves?
and the other door across the way, you can tell is a brewing room where the servants brew perry, which is basically a pear wine because the Wynnes have a pear orchard out on their grounds, and so they brew their own perry in here.
Is it like Perrier?
No.
So not only does Cora buy a lot of alcohol, they also brew it
They
at
make
home.
their own.
Yeah.
What do you think we're celebrating the harvest for?
So they have an
Yay,
excuse.
more wine.
Yeah.
Booze
So-
for everyone, but mostly for us.
Yeah, back out in the hall, as you turn right from the base of the stairs, you see that there is one corridor leading left and one leading straight. And there are a couple of doors on the one to the left, one on either side, and on the one to the right you see 3 doors on the left side of that corridor and 2 on the right of that one. This would be much easier to visualize if I had actually digitalized this map, but
Side quest for next time.
yeah.
Oh.
Okay. The door to the first door to your left. What did I write there? Oh, okay. Like,
It's always a bummer when you find the note but you can't read it.
Must
Yeah.
not be important.
yeah, the first door to your left is basically just a small under the stairs storage room. There isn't really much in here. There are a couple of
Yeah, we have one.
yeah, kind of like that. Yes, but there are a couple of crates of the perry that is being aged in here and that sort of thing. As you step back out of the hall, you turn to the next door on this side. This is a hunting trophy room. There are the heads of various animals mounted on the walls. There's an unusually large ornamental mounting board with the head of an owl bear directly at the center of it, but the mounting board looks way too big for the size of the head.
That's the one we caught.
Okay. So yeah, I don't really know what it's just. She just looks around.
You don't see any torture chambers or anything like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you look around the room. Roll a perception check.
Mm. 13 and
So 16.
Okay. So you're kind of curious about that strangely large mounting board with the floral carvings for the owlbear head, and so you go over and you as you're walking past it, you spot that there's a hinge on one side of it.
Oh, secret tunnel.
If you need backup, let me know.
He opens it. And...
Okay. It opens into a probably about 15 or 20 foot passage that leads into a workshop. this is like there are stairs leading up. You can see various like parts of carriages and horse tack are here that are in various states of disrepair. You can pretty much tell from context here that this is the workshop under the carriage house, which is just used to repair stuff for the carriages, and this passage is probably here as another emergency exit in case it's needed. Nobles are paranoid above all else.
These guys are really paranoid, though.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't build it, but yeah.
So nothing else like suspicious looking in there.
No.
But there's another entrance.
Yeah. Yeah. More and more ways in and out.
So we get a carriage, we get all the wine, and we make a break. I don't think anybody will care that they lose it.
Forget Giles Walda.
Oh, the weapons too.
Yes.
And the ukulele.
Just gonna rob this family blind.
Rob
Just
them
gonna
blind
sack
and run.
the whole mansion.
Hey, we will have
What
every
could
thief killed.
possibly go wrong?
Nothing. You think the servants care if we steal the wine?
They will when they get fired.
They'll probably be the
Or-
ones punished,
They're
but-
not the ones with the money that could hire people to hunt people.
Yeah. The servants would
Servants would
probably
be like,
be the ones
"Look."
blamed if stuff went missing, honestly. But,
Think about.
They would hide it for as long as they could. Honestly, I think so.
yeah.
Well, yeah, so they didn't get beaten.
Well, so you could just like switch the label on some of the wines, so it looks like.
Ooh.
That's true.
I like
That
your
is something
thinking.
you could do.
Mouse, get to work. I'll get the carriage.
So you do hear footsteps in the carriage house above you, so there are servants up there in the carriage house right now, but they don't seem to be coming towards the stairs to come down and check, so.
So then just continue looking at the other rooms.
Okay. So you duck back through the secret passage, you close the owlbear mount door, and you go across the hall where, oddly, you find... Let's see, where are my notes on this? I had notes on this, didn't I? Oh, I'm in the wrong section, that's why. I did have notes on this, didn't I? Yes, okay. Not much, but basically, oddly, you find a very large room that contains a swimming pool that is completely filled with water. There's sort of some kind of like blue
I would check
enchanted
that
lighting
water.
around the edges.
Make sure it's really water, otherwise we could have a heyday drinking.
That's how what's her name changes shapes, right?
Right?
So yeah, it's pretty much just a swimming pool.
So, so nothing weird looking in the room.
Huh?
Anything weird looking in the room that...
Other than the fact that there's a swimming pool in here, which isn't something you see every day. Like,
Oh, a pool.
Oh, look at that.
no, the room is pretty nondescript other than that.
Okay. So she just continues looking at others, I guess.
Okay. You go back and you take the other branch and turn into the first room to your left on that branch. And this is a pretty small room. It's lined with cabinets. It smells very strongly of tobacco smoke in here. And
Like recent? Or,
yeah,
or
like
is,
like it's just constantly used. Like this is a smoking room where mostly men retire to smoke pipes and that kind of thing. The cabinets, if you open them, they have like fine tobacco and some spare pipes and that sort of thing.
Okay.
So first you go to the smoking room, then you go to the fainting room.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the next room on the left, you can tell is a vault. It is very firmly locked. It is like it looks like a bank vault, essentially. This is probably where the family keeps very valuable artifacts, but you are almost certain there's no way you're going to be able to get in there without knowing the combination to the vault or, a couple of high-powered bombs.
Well, you just like pick it up.
What?
Maybe we could hit up Galdrin with some red velvet and wine, and we allowed a combo.
Yeah. It's like, hey Galdrin, I brought you red velvet cake.
There seems to be a theme here.
Make him happy, give him some cake, and we can have whatever we want.
Ta-da!
Get him drunk, and we're good. He won't care for at least a day.
Yeah, do we have any red velvet wine?
Yeah.
Red velvet cake flavored wine.
Yes.
Yeah, the next door that you open is...
He's an odd guy.
Yeah, the next door you open is just a pantry full of mostly dry goods like grain and flour and tea, and you see on the other side of it the door that you can tell from where just your general awareness of the house that the door in front of you would lead to the larder, and that leaves just one room back behind you that you haven't checked out yet.
Okay. Anything suspicious? Like anything that Mouse would notice that she'd want to look into?
About the door, or
like about any of the other rooms?
Not particularly. This is just a pantry, and the other room you haven't checked yet, you just haven't checked yet, so you don't know anything about it.
Okay, let's take that one.
Okay. So this room you open to find a comfortable looking study with bookshelves along two walls, a very finely crafted desk which is kept pretty neat on the surface, and most of the books along these walls appear to be books of clockwork engineering, that sort of thing, books about the theories of such things, and esoteric magic theory, various other fields of engineering and clockwork. There is one book that you spot that, just based on your passive perception, that seems a little out of place. The rest of these books are all pretty academic, and this one is a rather silly romance novel called Adirian's Refuge, which it's pretty famous. A lot of people are familiar with it. It's about a high elf noble who discovers a conspiracy to murder him and flees to the country estate of his cousin under an assumed name, where he falls in love with a disgraced human noble named Nissa and then tragically dies protecting her when the conspiracy finds him. It just seems very out of place among the other books in this collection.
So the book.
It's a
So
cipher.
Galdrin and Cora are related.
Could she take a look at the book and just see?
Yeah.
Okay.
And as you grab the book, it doesn't seem to want to come off the shelf, and you pull a little harder, and as you pull it, you hear a click. And
Come get us.
yeah, and
I knew it.
one of the bookshelves, like the bookshelf that it is on, you just kind of feel it like click out a little bit from the wall. It's hinged and you can open it out.
It's unhinged.
Yeah.
Like the passageway.
Off the hook.
Yeah, the entire bookshelf opens to reveal a passageway, basically.
Cool.
So.
Yay, Eddie furthered the plot.
Yay!
Go there.
Secret.
And,
That had to be in the basement.
It has to be in the basement.
But while she's been doing all this, you guys have probably been checking out the last few rooms in the first floor, right? You said that was what you were going to go do.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Okay.
Then we're rocking out. Tamati rocking out.
Daniel's,
yeah, Tamati went to plunder a ukulele. And,
He's like rocking out the ukulele, tries to crowd surf.
Ukulele upgrade.
yeah, you find this very, very beautiful ukulele. It puts the one that you currently have completely to shame. It's made of very fine dark wood. It has these gold inlays. It has a nameplate on it that of like the person who crafted it, and you are a little surprised to recognize that the name of the person who crafted it is in fact Bior.
Whoa!
This was made by Bior Quarrybright, the musician and bard that you have heard a story from tonight and who runs one of the local taverns.
Nice.
So you might be careful carrying that around.
Yeah. I probably would put it back at this point because it's like if Bjorn knew that I took it, then I'd be in trouble.
If he knew.
He'd know. Walking with a new ukulele? Yeah, he'd know.
Well, especially one he made.
Yeah.
Although
you don't know where it came
He could
from.
hide it.
But
somewhere.
you have no idea what his opinions are of the winds, because that wasn't, you guys didn't
True.
ask him what he thought
Right.
about
I mean,
the
if
winds.
it's just dusty, collecting dust in some obscure room.
Yeah, and it is collecting
take it
dust.
and
They
find
haven't been
out.
playing it. They commissioned it pretty much as an art object from him. They didn't really. You can tell no one's picked it up in some time.
It needs love.
Yeah.
So I run back downstairs, find Bjorn. Hey, can I steal that?
Yes.
Find
Find,
on stage performing.
find the man currently
He might make
performing
you
on a
one.
stage. Like, and just be like,
Yeah.
can I interrupt your
Sure.
performance to ask if I can steal some of your handiwork?
You know, could be fun. Okay, I'll just stay up there and play for a while.
Okay. So, let's see. Those of you who are checking out the other rooms, you go off down the hallway from the Great Hall, we'll say, or from the Grand Foyer that leads down past another bathroom on the ground floor, and some servants' quarters and such that Mouse has already checked out. And the first room you come to is a study that is incredibly cluttered and messy, also has a note telling the servants to keep out on the door in the same
Cedric's
handwriting.
Study.
Study.
And it's littered haphazardly with books and papers and that sort of thing.
Not that I would know. I haven't even talked to either of the brothers yet.
So hey, where's the sister at in all this?
Oh,
She
that
has been
is
nowhere
the
to be
question.
seen.
That's who we're looking for right now.
Right, but we haven't even found her room, is what I'm getting.
No, it was upstairs.
It was upstairs.
You did find your room?
Yeah, her room and
We
her
found
study.
her room, and
We found her room, and Heidi found her
Mouse found
study.
the study in the secret door. So we're just cleaning up all the extra exploration before we go meet up again.
Yeah, this is what you guys would have been doing while she was looking around downstairs. So.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there are tons of like books and papers lying around haphazardly here and things like that. if you want to look for anything specific, you'd have to make checks of one sort or another.
I'm not really concerned about Tetrick.
Me
He
either.
seems like a grumpy, spoiled rich kid who
Yep.
is just all sass and frass and
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
pressing forward.
Let's see. What was your passive perception, Sadie? It was
15.
15.
Yeah.
And let's see. Zephine's was 11. So Wynne, you do catch, just as you're about to turn and leave, you catch the name of Giles Walda on one of the papers on the floor.
What?
That's
Can I look at the paper or whatever it is?
Yeah, you pull up a draft of what appears to be a pretty threatening letter to Giles Walda, warning him that if he doesn't stop interfering, the Wynnes will be forced to report to the king that the Weavers Guild has been misreporting their profits to evade taxes. The draft is unfinished, though, and was kind of half buried under a pile of books, so you get the sense it was probably abandoned. But when you pull it out, you also pull out a small bag of some kind of waxy material that came with it. Let's see. Make an intelligence check to see if you know what this
Straight
would be.
intelligence?
Yeah,
Both of us or just me?
both of us. Both of you.
where'd it go?
I'm
You're
just-
gonna make one? You're gonna make a
7.
Yeah.
I got 7 plus my
20. I got 20.
bam blam.
Not natural, I just
Save
got
the
20.
day.
Okay, so you are familiar with this just because you have run across a couple of other people who were addicted to this substance. This is a very, very addictive drug called Dreamwax, and it's pretty valuable. When
Well, no wonder he's so grumpy.
And disheveled and a crackhead.
Yeah. And since you rolled so high, you actually know kind of what the effects of it are like too. It raises your awareness, but it makes you very irritable, and so those who take it gain +2 to wisdom, but -2 to charisma for 1d4 + 1 hours, basically. So your wisdom goes up, so your perception goes up, and that sort of thing. But
So they're on the drugs.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is.
for
at
me,
least.
right
Because
now.
I use charisma.
Yeah, your charisma goes down, and it is very addictive. So each time you take a dose, there's a chance you'd get addicted to it.
Wow.
So he's out there high on his Dreamwax.
Yeah.
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 And
No
that's-
wonder he's so cranky.
Yeah, that's probably part of why he is as irritable as he is.
Yeah.
Not that anyone gets the impression that he would be a particularly pleasant person sober either.
Otherwise, yeah. Mhm.
But yeah, it is valuable and can be sold, but
Insightful.
you'd have to go to the black market to do so, since it's quite illegal in most places.
Yeah.
Insight noted.
Yeah. Okay. So.
So in the note, it was saying that they were going to tell the king that the guild had been dodging their taxes.
Yes.
Okay, that is also notable
Yes.
information.
Yeah.
Okay,
At least
so-
that's what the Wynnes would claim to the king. You have no idea whether that
Right.
is...
That's the report they were going to give the king
Yeah.
in this threatening draft. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next room that you come to is another study. This one, presumably Galdrin's. It's
covered in
yeah.
red velvet?
There's red velvet in here as well. It's not quite as prevalent as in his bedroom, but the chair by his desk is completely coated in red velvet. There's red velvet on the walls, and it's It's otherwise pretty neatly kept, quite boring. You see amusingly that his shelves are full of embarrassing romance novels. And
Not out of place.
one of the desk drawers is locked as you kind of glance through.
I don't think I could do anything about that.
I don't have any tools or anything for picking locks, so.
Well, we can just earmark that for information later.
Yeah.
Too.
Hatch it.
I have a pepper box.
They
It's good at
might
opening
notice
locks.
that.
They might
I
hear
don't know
the
how
sound of
much
a
time
gunshot.
Galdrin spends studying, but he would probably notice a smashed desk.
Yeah.
And after you leave Galdrin's study, you cross through the library into through the door with the glass window that you saw earlier. And there is a door straight ahead and a door to either side of you. Which one would you like to check first?
Pick number one, my lord.
Let's check the door on the left first.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. This is like a game room. It has a couple of billiard tables, balls and cues, chairs around the sides. There's a glass case that has some playing cards, a very, very nice dragon chess set made of jade, and a couple other games.
Wow.
Cool. Rich people games. Okay. Door at the end, straight ahead.
Okay, the door at the end. This is a nursery full of children's toys. They're very dusty and the furniture is faded. It's pretty clear no one's been in here in some time. And since it's so dusty, you suspect the servants might not be allowed in either. There's a rocking horse that looks quite finely made. And roll perception real quick, both of you, on that.
14.
12, yeah.
Okay, so you both notice that carved into the pommel of the saddle is the seal of the Aegis on this rocking horse.
Seal of the Ages! More!
Oh my gosh! Okay.
And as you examine it, you...
Is it a red velvet horse?
It
To
is
start
not.
young?
It is not red velvet.
No.
It's completely wooden. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
It's a red velvet saddle, so you don't slow it off.
But
That does.
like the pommel actually looks like it was like it screws on to the horse, to the rocking horse.
So
Take it.
what part? I
So
was
it
gonna
could
say,
like unscrew.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we open it?
Yeah, as you
Wait. I was gonna say, can I like make sure that there's not gonna be some kind of like trap or
Yeah,
anything?
if this is dusty and no one's
Yeah.
been here, we might want to check that.
yeah,
Yeah.
roll perception.
Wait, I know better. Oh no! Natural one.
Oh, I told you should use ours.
It's dusty.
Yeah.
It's a horse.
All this dust. Ugh.
Looks kind of like red velvet to me.
Yeah, you like it's only after you've grabbed the pommel that it occurs to you that with all the dust in here, it will be noticed that this has been touched if anybody comes in, but it's too late now. So
I was gonna say that. Shoot.
yeah, you twist the pommel and the saddle of the rocking horse clicks up, and you can pull it off, and beneath it you find a locked container. It's not very large. It's small enough that you could probably conceal it on your person without anybody noticing. It's just a few inches across, and it's the only thing that's in there.
Okay, well, I think we should take that.
Yeah, I'm gonna slip it into my dress.
Okay.
It's finger of Giles.
Oh, jeez.
Probably not with all that dust. Hopefully
All
not.
that's left.
So, since we're in there, can I I feel like we should at least disturb more of the dust so it's not so obvious right where we went.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also another door in this room that leads off to another. So.
Okay. So I'm wondering if I have feathers on my arms, so I just sweep around and mess up the dust, but would I have a way to clean that off before we go back out to the party?
You can pretty much just brush it clean. It's
okay. I'll just brush all around and just kind of dust that away, and then we want to check out that door.
Okay. So.
My cough a little bit from all the dust.
Yeah.
Cover your mouth.
Yeah, you in this other room you see children-sized beds, also very clearly unused and left alone for a very long time. Not anything particularly interesting at first, although you do see a child's desk with a pile of yellowing papers on it with crude-looking children's drawings of animals, people, and on one sheet a very crude children's drawing of the Seal of the Aegis.
Interesting. So this is something that they grew.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they grew up with, but it's really a part of their family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
well, I don't think we need to go check that out, but that's good to observe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was one more door back out in that hallway, which
to the right.
Let's check it out.
Which leads to a parlor carpeted with a very, very busy red and gold rug. This kind of room is typically used just for conversation, really. There's very fine embroidered furniture, a couple of portraits of the family, one of whom is an older man that looks like the Wynnes, but looks kinder. You suspect it's probably Turner Wynne, the grandfather. And a portrait of Galdrin that is being very, very charitable about his chin. It is giving him much more chin than he actually has.
The crimson chin.
It is
ferret face.
Yeah, it's suggesting that he has one, which he does not. So. So that's all the rooms.
Lovely. Okay, well, let's go mingle our way back to the Great Hall and see where everyone else is.
Coolly.
Okay.
I have to step out real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh, gosh.
So, Heidi, would Mouse...
Are we doing a brain dump then?
Yeah, would Mouse run back and find everyone else after you found the secret passage?
She can't talk to us too much, otherwise it'll look odd.
Yeah,
accomplish that inconspicuously.
Yeah, come and find everyone without being too obvious about it.
She could be serving us drinks.
Yeah.
I think Mouse would at least put her head in, and if there seems like somebody in.
Yeah, there's no one in the passage, but it leads to a small room. You can see it's not lit, so you are just relying on the light that is pouring in from the study where you're checking. But you can see that there are just sort of bare stone walls here, and some kind of mechanism on the wall somewhere. Without taking a closer look, you're not really sure what's going on in there, though.
Mechanism, clockwork, fiddling.
They're I would need more.
The castle's a transformer.
I missed that, Heidi.
You think like they would need like someone to...
That is not transmitting. I think it just stopped.
It dropped the last half.
Too quiet.
Like, do you think it would need that has magics?
We once again lost the second half of that.
Sorry to repeat.
Oh, that
Rethink.
won't.
You just need to be a little less mousy and talk louder. It's cutting you out because it thinks you're background noise.
I'm still hearing Russell.
So, does it have to like? Does it look like something open?
That is so funny. It just like
It's
doesn't want you
consistently
us
the
to
second
hear your
half of the
words
sentence.
with that are really important.
She's
It's-
asking if it needs to be magically opened. Is
Uh,
that
or
what
can
I'm
you do-
getting?
Can it be lockpicked?
yeah, you can't really tell what it is like from here in the dark. You'll have to take a closer look to really know anything about it.
I have a gun. It's a
Like-
good lockpick.
Is she so like? Could she walk up to it and look at it better?
Yeah, you could check in there. You would have to light a torch or something to be able to see it clearly.
Is there a torch nearby?
You could have brought one with you from just since you all have torches in your inventory, I think so.
Is it safe to use a torch in this area? Just saying, I
It's-
don't want to blow the whole mansion up if they're doing odd experiments.
You don't know about that, but it's not at risk of burning down because it's stone walls. So
Okay. Light the torch and start.
okay, so you light a torch and you see that this room is made from old, worn-looking sandstone, and it appears to be much older than the. Whoa, that is weird. Why did in Roll20 Russell's purple toad just appeared over my camera?
I don't know.
Anyway, you see that this appears to be much older than the rest of the mansion, and it's a mechanism that it doesn't appear to be magic. It also doesn't appear to be clockwork. It's been here for a much longer time, and it's just some kind of button, and there's a sort of raised dais in the center of the room that is cut out from the rest. You suspect it's an elevator. If people heard that, hopefully.
I heard about an elevator.
I heard it.
I heard the yeah,
Okay.
it cut out.
Yeah, there was just silence. So
Rapt attention.
yeah.
What will Mouse do now that she has this information?
Yeah.
Like all the other passageways,
Why is it
like
always
checked almost every.
always the second
is
half of your
it's-
sentences? Discord hates the second half of your sentences.
I was like, just thinking I don't know, Mouse's character would probably.
She'd just forge
going.
ahead. She'd just do
Yeah.
it.
But it seems like it'd be more fun for her to go back and get everybody. But I don't know if there's actually anything.
Come get some help.
Yeah, I was gonna say, chances
you
are
get in
you're
a
gonna run
fight.
into Cora or somebody down there. You're gonna need other people.
Yeah, I think this is level 2 of the mansion.
Okay.
Velvet Man will try and hug you.
Yeah. Okay, so now Screw tries to like find you guys.
Yay!
Okay, so you make
Guess
your
what
way.
I found?
Yeah,
I see just like
yeah. You make your way back up, and
Do you want an hors d'oeuvre? I found a secret door.
there were hors d'oeuvres behind it. I found a portal to the hors d'oeuvre dimension.
Hors d'oeuvres, I'm there.
The elemental plane of hors d'oeuvres. It's just through this portal. So you make your way back up, being careful that no one notices where you're coming from, and probably slipping through the pantry since it's close by. And you go back out into the Great Hall and begin looking around for the others. And as all of you sort of as all of you sort of start to get the message here and gather up, Doggery catches Tamati and says, like, I'll make sure that I post a cover story for you that no one notices where you're going. Says I'll just tell them.
There for us, Doggery.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
You're so awesome.
Yeah, she says, I'll just, like, if anyone asks where the lot of you have gone, I'll just tell them that you left early. So.
Good cover.
And so, all of you.
Should I go grab servant?
I didn't catch that. Sorry, I was talking.
Like, does anybody want servant clothes? I don't know. I present the idea if it would make anybody feel more comfortable.
We didn't
I wear
get
a
most of
suit,
that.
so I don't think I need a servant's costume.
Yeah,
Oh.
okay.
Yeah,
I'll
to go
just
into
hop
it.
in.
Okay, go
Hopefully.
for it.
Is this maybe a good place for like a chapter break? Like a bookmark?
Yeah, it could be. Since it is getting late. Real quick, though. Let's see. I will just move you guys into the next area. And right now, we'll assume that Mouse has a lit torch down here. Just like you guys go down, you kind of look around and just knowing there's probably not really anything else to do here, closing the bookshelf behind you so that it's not obvious. You go in and you press the button, and there's a slight sound of grinding stone as the circle in the center of the room begins slowly to descend. And it is in fact an elevator, and you guys end up down in
our first dungeon.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And
wait, did we all come down?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
and
Remember, we had hors d'oeuvres, and then we went to the room.
yeah, right now I have only Mouse holding.
I got stuck on the hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah. Right now I have only Mouse holding a torch, so the light is emitted from her token, but on the map that I have you guys on now, you should be able, at this point, to find yourselves, because I now have light emitted. So, zoom out if you have to.
Can't.
Mine's all black.
I was gonna say I can't find the map.
Yeah, oh, you know what? I have not given you guys control over your tokens. That's probably why here. Hang on a second.
I knew we were missing something.
Yeah, so...
Where's my beautiful face?
Hey, Chris, you promised me bacon. Where is it?
Controlled by Heidi from Mouse.
Some digital bacon. I don't know.
I don't like digital bacon. Tastes funny.
Pixelated.
Controlled by Chris. Save changes. Controlled by Sadie. Save changes. Controlled by Russell. Save changes. Controlled by Tamati, since you just used your character name here.
That's right, suckers.
Thought about doing
And
it. I thought about it.
Ooh, I see something.
by Shara. Save changes. So you all should have control of your tokens, and you all should be able now to see where the light is.
Mine's all still black.
Yeah, so is mine.
Oh, no. There we are. Boom.
Monocle Man to the rescue.
Sweet.
It's kind of a good lineup.
I got nothing.
Open my...
Really? Even if you zoom out all the way and...
Yeah, with the giant in front.
Yep.
So I have to click my character to turn the torch on, right?
Let me...
There we go.
Okay, my night vision goggles.
You should have...
Night vision
sight.
monocle, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
you know what?
So fun.
Here, hang on. Let's see.
This is awesome.
Oh, wait. I see
Yeah,
something.
I had to edit your token so that it is... Is anyone else still only seeing blackness here?
I see. Last I see the light.
I see the light.
I see the light.
This is so cool.
Like the fog.
They can hear me when I'm talking.
No.
What?
Nothing.
Oh my gosh, that's the seal on the floor.
That's
Right
not
in
the
the
seal of
middle.
that's not the seal of the Aegis.
Don't
It's
step
not?
on it.
No, it is not.
It is an ominous looking potentially seal. But it's just in the entryway. We gotta go. That's so cool.
So yeah, everyone should be able to see now, yes. And right now, the only one of you actually holding a light source is Mouse. The others of you probably do have light sources of some sort available to you that you can carry so that you also will emit light if you wander off and are not close enough to be within.
I'm so
Mouse's
bright, my
light
dad
source.
calls me son.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
And if that
But
is where
I
we're... If that's where we're going to call it for the night, then this is actually a session where I did not roll a single die. But
Nice.
I'm okay with that.
Covered a lot of ground, and I mean, you showed the major DM flexing with all the story behind everything.
yeah.
I had 2 Mountain Dews. I'm good for another 8 hours, I think.
Also, might I mention that this
Pass.
dungeon level that you just arrived on is what I was scrambling for the last several days to prepare because I was like, oh no, they're going to get there and I'm not going to be ready. And then you guys get here and it's like time to close up.
They were looking through bedrooms. They want to
Yeah.
go down to the basement.
Yeah.
I told them where it was at.
We all knew.
Just wanted
But
to
if
get all
we
the
had-
action.
Yeah. We
So,
would never have known about Red Velvet and Oscar-lilies.
So we need to make sure before we go too far that we set up the wine so we can still it.
Well, the wine, the entrances, that little container that we found in the nursery. I mean,
Yeah.
and the
Money.
picture with the seal of the ages. I mean, we
Yeah.
found coincidence. That
We
was
did
not
sound quite a bit.
Yeah.
yeah.
I said that completely wrong. I am ashamed.
We're going to make money off this adventure. That's all I'm saying.
That's the name of the game.
And the golden ukulele.
Adventure.
And
Okay, you
so
can get the
with that,
ukulele.
I
I'm
am
getting my
going
gun
to
now.
I'm going to stop the recording now. So say goodbye to the recording, everyone. Goodbye, recording.
Bye.